Where is Daredevil?
I'm right here. Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated.
We're gonna take this city back.
Over medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
We no longer employ our ancestral cosmic orientation to connect with the natural world as we previously did. The sun's diurnal trajectory across the sky no longer dictates our location or the time of day. Our perception of the external world has evolved, resulting in a diminished sense of completeness within a dominant system. Climate and seasonal variables affect our work and leisure patterns, attire, nutrition, and travel. These elements influence our subconscious perception of timing and our capacity to engage with nature, which we frequently neglect. We frequently admire ancient civilizations' perceived tranquility and spiritual assurance, overlooking that their instruments were cultivated and employed in a context that prompted them to acknowledge and embrace both natural and divine forces. These tools facilitated preserving a profound sense of cosmic orientation, allowing individuals to sustain it and perceive their role as a genuine spiritual endeavor. Ancient Egypt provided Al with a sense of cosmic orientation. The contemporary construction of dams has inhibited the Nile from generating its annual flood. Comprehending the cadence of that event and others is crucial for grasping Egyptian rituals and ceremonies. To regain cosmic orientation, we must transcend our temporal realm and immerse ourselves in the visible universe of ancient Egypt, where cosmic rhythms supported human existence, nature, and the deities. In Egyptian society, both secular and spiritual affairs were regulated by the notion of time. Although the realms of the gods, Neher, were deemed eternal, they were also continuous and expressed in cycles. In accordance with the oscillations of cosmic existence, deities manifested at various intervals yet remained enduring and immutable. Celestial bodies facilitate events occurring in linear time, dejet, and by the rhythms of cosmic existence. The three dimensions of cosmic activity were believed to be constituted by three distinct rhythms: lunar, solar, and stellar. Esoteric traditions assert that all life is governed by nature's rhythms, seasons, and cycles. The moon and the sun are pivotal in human existence. Scholars assert that ancient Egypt's initial invention for timekeeping was a lunar calendar. The quantity of new moons dictates the synodical cycles within a month. The 29-day synodic cycle commenced with the initial crescent illumination of the new moon. This phase consists of two hemicycles, 14 days of waxing and 14 days of waning lunar illumination. Every quarter comprises 7 days. Throughout history, individuals have employed these metrics to ascertain a lunar week and month. The symbolism of the lunar phases is profoundly embedded in celestial phenomena. At the commencement of the lunar cycle, the new moon, the sun and moon align at the same celestial coordinates. In various legends regarding divine unions, the ancients perceived it as the convergence of male, solar, and female, lunar principles. This is commemorated in the grand festival at the temples of Edfu and Dendera on the new moon of the 11th month of the solar year, celebrating the union of Heru and Hathor. The solar disk, waxing and waning crescents, within the moon's orb represents this event in the goddess's crown. At the new moon, no light is visible. However, a crescent of light appears on the third day following the solunar conjunction. At the commencement of the seventh day, 50% of the moon's surface is illuminated, and by the 15th day, the full moon is entirely illuminated by the sun's reflected light. As the full moon wanes, the sky progressively diminishes in illumination over the subsequent days, culminating in the waning crescent. This page enumerates the lunar months and lunar festivals, each described in distinct terminology. A frieze in Hathor's Temple at Dendera illustrates the entire cycle of lunar days. The new moon will transpire following day 2 of the new synodic cycle, when the initially visible sliver of the crescent emerges. The quarter moon celebration is referred to as the 6-day feast, 6 days post the visibility of the first crescent, whereas the full moon celebration is termed the 14-day feast, 14 days post the visibility of the first crescent. A lunar year comprises 354 days, segmented into 12 lunar months. An effort has been made to harmonize the lunar and solar calendar systems by abbreviating this duration for millennia. Figure 32 illustrates that the Egyptians incorporated a 13th lunar month of variable duration. During the dynasty, the Egyptians neither abandoned nor extensively adopted lunar calendars. After the lunar year, a grand ceremony of offerings to ancestors occurs, signifying the time for tomb offerings during the 6-day feast. The ancient Egyptian lunar calendar remains used today, albeit solely for religious observances. Jews commemorate Passover on the first full moon after the spring equinox. Muslims partake in the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca, on the same lunar occurrence, while Christians observe Easter on the first Sunday after that full moon. The Oriental calendar designates the new year based on the occurrence of the first new moon after the sun's ingress into Aquarius. Although numerous cultures, including the Egyptians, perceived the lunar cycle as feminine, it is solely through the narratives of the Heliopolitan deity Asar, intimately associated with the moon's phases, that the lunar cycle of growth and decline is distinctly represented. In ancient times, Egypt's inaugural ruler, Asar, and his devoted sister consort, Oset, established order and civilization in the nation. However, his brother Set harbored profound jealousy towards Asar's widespread adoration. Set and his accomplices subsequently assassinated him and dismembered his body into 14 fragments as a consequence of these malevolent actions. Auset's sorcery and the deity's intervention resurrected Asar. He ascended to the dominion of the shadow realms, the expansive ethereal domain beyond the physical world, where all ancestral spirits dwell. Thus, all were believed to return to this deity's domain upon the cessation of physical existence. Asar represents the force of transcendence, embodying the essence of the lunar principle in nature and the function of recurrence within the life cycle. This myth interlaces the lunar processes, from when Auset and Nebt-Het assumed control over Asar's 14 members, to the lunar eclipse following his demise, symbolizing Set's rise to power. The moon's variable course causes light to diminish and increase, yet its cyclical return counteracts dissolution by ensuring perpetual renewal. Upon vanquishing Set, Asar attained completeness and entered a domain surpassing nature's temporal forces. Crescent moons represent Asar's resurgence in Egyptian rituals during the decline of his power. Restorations signified his reappearance, while a return denoted his reappearance. Subsequently, the Nita officially announces his dismemberment, commences a mourning ritual, and enters a phase of inactivity until a new moon rejuvenates his existence. Material offerings, a practice that sustains the Nita's diminishing powers until their resurgence, predominantly characterize lunar ceremonies during this period. The new moon signifies the commencement of ventures and the establishment of new initiatives, such as the construction of temples, as the moon's cycle symbolizes the domain of time. This phase signifies the moment a physical seed is sown in the womb of time, destined to flourish at the full moon when the forces of light and dark matter will inhabit and illuminate the body. The ancient Egyptians regarded eclipses as times of Seti's dominance, during which they halted temple rituals and confined the priesthood to the divine house. In ancient Egypt, a myth linked to the solar eclipse occurring during the new moon featured Ra, the sun deity, and Auset. Ra's debilitation, indicated by the reduction of the sun's visage in the lunar sphere, signifies his encroaching senescence. To neutralize the affliction, the goddess administered poison to extract his secret name. In obtaining the character, she guaranteed that royal authority would be perpetually transmitted to Heru, thus securing the continuity of the incarnate pharaoh. Solar eclipses symbolize the diminution and reinstatement of the sun god's powers via Auset's sorcery. Consequently, the temple recited Ra's 75 divine names at the commencement of this cosmic event. Lunar eclipses, which occur during the full moon, represent Set's assassination of Asar. The waning visage of the moon signifies these eclipses, which are caused by the Earth's shadow. During the 14th new moon, Auset and Nebt-Het conducted extended vigils to emulate their brother's lamentation. Shortly thereafter, the conception of a son named Heru immortalized Auset's essence and restored his physical form. The prevention of Set's chaotic dominion necessitated the application of the most potent magic. Each temple adhered to its ritual cycle, encompassing daily observances, monthly rites, and annual festivals, by its cosmogony and the events about the Neteru it venerated. We revere the lunar principle by adhering to Kesu, rites, or prescriptions. Kesu provides both animal and plant-derived sustenance during the lunar cycle. Daily purifications are integral to the Kesu, symbolizing the rejuvenation of physical existence. The Kesu collectively represent the fundamental components of temple practice. The solar circuit principle significantly impacted the Egyptians via the heavens. The ancient Egyptians perceived the rhythm of sunrise, the zenith of the sun, and sunset as symbols of the ascent and descent of divine light, which maintained continuous interaction with the Duat, or invisible sky and shadow world. A substantial component of funerary literature is the celestial journey of the sun, exemplified by works such as the Book of Gates, the Spell of the 12 Caves, and the Books of the Sky, also referred to as the Book of Day and the Book of Night. These works depict the solar journey through night and day as an essential aspect of the soul's perpetual renewal of life. The Egyptians, whose civil calendar was predicated on the 3 seasons associated with the Nile and lunar cycles, instituted a calendar comprising 360 days. Calendar observances were predominantly founded on the solar cycle of equinoxes, when the Earth's equator aligns with the sun's trajectory, and solstices, when the sun reaches its maximum northern or southern position on the horizon. According to the Egyptian solar calendar, each month of the lunar calendar comprises 30 days. Every month comprised 3 weeks, each spanning 10 days. Alongside this festival, the Epagomenai, Greek added, were observed, commemorating the birth of the 5 solar deities: Asar, Set, Heru-Ur, Auset, and Nebt-Het. This resulted in 365 days, aligning with the interval between 2 consecutive spring equinoxes, precisely 365.25 days. The sun regulates monarchy, and the civil calendar records occurrences about the royal house and administration. This religious practice signified the quarterly intervals during which major festivals were observed across the 2 lands, including the winter solstice feast of Sokar, the deity of dormant vitality. Historically, the summer solstice coincided with the inundation of the Nile. Heru, the progeny of Asar, embodies the solar principle in his mythological endeavors. His quadruple exalted name, Ra-Atum Harakte Kepri, representing the 4 divisions of the day in antiquity: dawn, noon, dusk, and midnight, indicates that Heru is fundamentally the embodiment of the sun. By vanquishing the adversary, the shadow, he brings awareness to the darker aspects of human experience through his triumph over the forces of Set. The solar principle is embodied in Heru, representing the restoration of order in the temporal domain and the potency of fusion in the spiritual realms. His mastery function, as the principle of ascension, forms a luminous body. Initiates enter this vehicle to ascend into the divine realm on the celestial journey that commences upon fulfilling the obligations of terrestrial existence. We also illustrate Ma'at, the goddess positioned at the sun's vessel's bow, governing the Horian principle of order. By preserving the sun's trajectory along the celestial path of life and truth, she provides enlightenment to all who dwell beneath. Heru symbolizes the dormant capabilities of human experience activated by the initiatory voyage through the constellational year, akin to Ra, the primordial light source. Additional solar deities encompass the Heliopolitan Ennead. Iru, also referred to as Hebu Nu Pet, signifies festivals of the sky, or cosmic events, and venerates the solar principle. The Iru, foundation ceremonies, encompass 5 elemental powers and 4 quarters. These phenomena occur as the sun traverses different regions of the celestial sphere throughout the year, invoking the energies of cosmic entities, whose seasons activate as the sun moves through their respective constellations. The Egyptian solar calendar acknowledged the cycle of 4 celestial periods as the rise and fall of solar energies in the observable realm. This cycle is referred to as the ecliptic belt of the sky, which traces the sun's path through constellations over the tropical year. During the spring equinox, when day and night are of equal duration, the sun's transit commences, representing the equilibrium between the visible and invisible realms. Asar's powers were revitalized in antiquity when Orion re-emerged in the nocturnal sky. The Egyptians were notably vigilant regarding the solstices. The summer solstice aligned with the onset of the Nile's flooding, while the winter solstice signified the planting season following the receding waters. Elaborate temple festivities were conducted each occasion to honor the Neteru, whose power had been revitalized and manifested in the sky and on earth. As the night extended and Orion's visibility diminished in the sky, it symbolized the declining influence of the solar deities and the rise of dark forces. The sun's ingress into the constellations signifies the soul's entry into the domain of conscious creation. Referred to as the Neta, Ra generated the 5 senses, Heka, Sia, Hu, Ma, Sedjem, and all entities in the observable realm through his creative prowess. An initiate embodies the light body throughout the 12 solar ingresses of the zodiacal mansions, before encountering the deities in cosmic domains. The concept that the body is linked to cosmic principles persists in the astrological rulerships of the signs, which govern body parts, physiological functions, and spiritual capacities. The celestial rhythm. They acknowledge that divine life is eternal and immutable, unaffected by the cycles dictated by the 2 celestial bodies on Earth. Their sidereal year, when 2 consecutive stars occupy the same position in the sky, was recognized as 365.2 636 days. The precession of the equinoxes, resulting from the Earth's poles' oscillation, and the spring equinox's gradual shift along the ecliptic, leads to a 20-minute divergence between the solar and sidereal years. 8,000 years ago, the summer solstice coincided with the heliacal rising of Sopdet, the celestial embodiment of Auset, marking the commencement of the Nile's inundation. This period is referred to as the Night of the Teardrop, marking Auset's realization of her husband's demise, and the tears shed by the goddess that caused the river's inundation. Contemporary Egypt continues to commemorate it as Laylat al-Nuqta. The Sothic calendar documented sacred periods, temple ritual events, and the movements of celestial bodies named after Sothis. the Greek designation for this star. Sopdet's appearance, coinciding with the solstice and inundation in antiquity, established her as a principal indicator of the celestial sphere. Consequently, a remarkable calendar determined time and seasons with exceptional precision using this fiducial star. Arset, the sovereign of sorcery, spouse of the dormant deity, and progenitor of the righteous son of illumination, embodies the mythological realm of Sopdet through her transformative abilities. Heru epitomizes the equilibrium between dark and light moral forces, symbolizing the fluctuating physical power embodied by Asar. As the goddess animated her husband's lifeless form, the esoteric initiation rituals within her domain imbued the soul with cosmic illumination. She nurtures the creative principle, as Heru's conception was influenced by her rejuvenating powers, enabling entry into the realm of cosmic existence and affiliation with the divine entourage. Hebu-Tepteru, denoting the festivals or feasts of the calendar, is commemorated at the temple to venerate the stellar principle. Temples additionally conduct the Hebu during their festivities. During peak periods, they perform rituals that bestow powers upon the Neteru. Ancient temples were crucial for manifesting and embodying the divine essence as the Neta periodically ascended from its celestial realm, whether hourly, daily, monthly, or annually. The inception of ancient timekeeping was likely intended to create a systematic order and offer a consistent method for comprehending this order. In the temple, the emergence of light signified the conclusion of the dark hours, as it was believed that the deity would awaken in cyclical intervals determined by the temple's cosmology and descend into the divine house. Thus, astronomer priests conducting their craft in observatories atop temple roofs observed the sun's trajectory during the day and tracked the stars' movement across the nocturnal sky. Alongside the esteemed sacred astronomy of Egypt, these experts introduced a timekeeping system that we have inherited. Contemporary societies have neglected the latter approach, resulting in a diminished comprehension of the era and cycles of celestial forces. Each day, a circle of stars traverses the sky as the Earth rotates on its axis. Yet only half of these stars are discernible to the unaided eye. Seasonally, particular constellations are visible at dawn or dusk along the horizon. Other celebrities traversed a predictable trajectory across the sky. Observations indicated that these stars manifested at specific times of the day, leading to their designation as chronocraters, symbols of the arrival of divine entities linked to timekeeping. A star is regarded as a bar or divine manifestation of a deity. And this influence is perceptible beneath the stars. The stars indicate advantageous or adverse conditions in both sacred and secular domains. 36 constellations have adorned the southern ecliptic, the sun's trajectory. Each group's names and guardians differed when inscribed on tombs and papyri. Nonetheless, there exist 36 constants. During the equinoxes, when day and night are of equal length, the interval between the emergence of each deacon on the horizon corresponds to 40 minutes. This duration fluctuates with the season and the observer's latitude. The deacons functioned as nocturnal indicators during their traversal of the horizons. Decans emerged sequentially at twilight in the eastern sky at 10-day intervals to signify the commencement of the new week. Due to daylight obscuring the stars for half of the day, not all 36 deacons would be observable on the horizon. Nevertheless, they will manifest on the nocturnal horizon throughout the year, indicating the commencement or conclusion of a season for the observant viewer. Consequently, the deacons delineated the months and weeks of the year. The transit deans, transit deca, and the heliacal risings, decades, were employed by the pharaohs in antiquity. The transit deans were employed nocturnally to indicate the hours, whereas the heliacal risings established the seasons and weeks. Numerous stars or asterisms signified the commencement of each season and week. The Decanoi are highlighted in Hermetic writings from the Greco-Roman era. The decans are accountable for all collective events affecting humanity, including famines, pestilences, floods, and earthquakes. None of these occurrences would have occurred without their influence. Certain decan descriptions delineate specific conditions, while others enumerate the deities with which they were affiliated. Decans are accompanied by a spirit guardian that elucidates their actions, a nator that oversees them, and minerals or plants that symbolize their power. The nator is typically regarded as one of the 4 genii of the funerary quaternary, or one of the 4 deities of the Heliopolitan solar rhythm. Each asterism is linked to a deity representing its fundamental traits across the 4 elements: fire, earth, air, and water. Kebsenuf, Daumutef, and Harpy. Astronomy, subsequently referred to as astrological magic in Greece and Rome, encapsulates the sacred astrology of Egypt. The Egyptian decanal belt was delineated around the celestial equator, situated south of and parallel to the ecliptic, in contrast to the zodiac, which comprises the 12 constellations along the sun's trajectory. The Egyptian system comprises only a limited number of Western constellations. The lists delineate each decan distinctly, rendering it ambiguous which stars constitute each constellation. Fiducials, starting points, are consistently marked and are typically situated near the constellations of Orion and Canis Major, aligning with those of Gemini and Cancer. In the temples, decan designation and enumeration were critical responsibilities. These findings validate the significance of stargazing in scheduling specific rituals during the day and night. However, decans also fulfilled an additional mystical function. In tombs and funerary papyri, enumerations or depictions of decanal hours serve as guides to delineate the soul's journey through the nocturnal sky or the duat. The decan spirits in the tombs assisted the deceased in crossing over and being reborn at dawn, with the sun's emergence during the night. When the soul encounters the appropriate timing, it has the potential to metamorphose into a celestial entity. The decan spirits were endowed with the power to eliminate such impediments, notwithstanding malevolent forces even in celestial domains. 6 decans, each corresponding to a segment of the celestial sphere, 3610 from 360 degree, indicated the passage of time at night as they rose in the east, reached their zenith, and descended in the west. A night would comprise approximately half, 18, of the transit decans traversing overhead. 18 decans, x 40 minutes, 720 minutes. The Egyptians employed a sexagesimal mathematical system, which clearly delineated the solar phases of night and day into 24 segments, 12 hours, multiplied by 2, forming the foundation of our contemporary timekeeping system. A new Dean ascended in the night sky every 10 days to signify the commencement of a new calendar week. Funerary offerings could be conducted on the final day of each week, without straying from the lunar calendar of offerings, which designated this day as a Day of the Dead. By Philae's morning ritual, a priestess from the temple traveled to the neighboring island of Biga, the Abaton, or reserved place, where it was believed the god had been concealed before his reconstitution at Abydos. Every ceremony featured milk offerings, and ancient inscriptions alluded to the placement of 365 bowls of milk in the sanctuary. Decans on 2 celestial ceilings in the Dead Sea Scrolls, one in the unoccupied tomb of Senmut, 1473 BCE, and another in the Osirian Temple of Seti I, 1303 BCE, demonstrate the existence of 10-day weeks, the decades. In certain Ramesside tombs, decans indicate alternating hours, transits. The term star clock refers to its depiction of time as indicated by the movement of stars from east to west around a seated human figure, serving as a significant illustration of ancient astronomical observations. Egyptian astrologers documented their celestial observations over time as they transitioned from the vernal equinox to the tropical equinox, akin to contemporary astrologers, instead of employing a fixed low system. The transit decan of Sopdet commences with the initiation of the sidereal year and the mythos of the hours in an eternal time frame. Consequently, it emerged as a leader or precursor of cycles among other decanal stars. The position of Sirius in 2780 BCE initiates the preceding list of transit decans, encompassing the present era. These decans are allocated in intervals of 10 degrees. At epoch 2000, Sirius is positioned at 19 Degraun 15 in the constellation Gemini within the sidereal zodiac, and at 13 Degree 30 E's in the constellation Cancer within the tropical zodiac. Observations of this set indicate that the decans ascended in the east at sunset, a phenomenon referred to as acronychal rising. Their sequential appearances in the night sky signified the passage of time in sacred hours, chronocraters, and the movement of divine forces across the heavens. At the Temple of Dendera, they are represented as deities on boats traversing the heavens. This table can measure sacred time in the temple, although astronomical expertise is necessary to locate the fiducial star. Nonetheless, planetarium software can rapidly determine when Sirius will rise above the local horizon, signifying the commencement of the 36 decanal hours. This observation elucidates the phenomenon of decay ascending in the east at sunset, referred to as anachronical growth. They were notable for their presence in the eastern sky. They observed the yearly ascension of Sopdet, signifying the commencement of a sacred, surreal year. A decan would manifest in the eastern pre-dawn sky, heliacal rising, annually, indicating the commencement of 10 days during which it would be observable in that position until its anticipated successor supplanted it. The appearance of the decan stars in this manner signified the commencement of the Egyptian week. In antiquity, this secondary function of the decans was situated near the Sirius region, with the summer solstice aligning with the onset of the Nile floods. Hellenistic astrology integrated this decan system to illustrate the diverse influences operating within the zodiac. The temples of Hathor at Dendera and Khnum at Esna exhibit various linear and circular zodiacal schemes inscribed during the Ptolemaic period. Egypt possesses a singular circular zodiac at Dendera, which arranges the decans to the north and south of the ecliptic, while an additional linear zodiac superimposes the signs. The circular zodiac contains numerous intriguing aspects of sacred astronomy. The prior list details a decanal belt, signifying a synthesis of the transit deans and decades from the era of its creation, 30 BCE key. The deans in this list represent constellations or zodiac signs. Observing the circle with numbered figures can determine their positions in the sky. The initial decan spirit, Kenmut, proceeds along the temple axis to the left, while the others follow clockwise. Dendera Zodiac. 1. Kenmut, the sacred baboon, possesses a human head and adorns a double crown. 9 stars are depicted on the decan. Its deity is Ba, a tangible embodiment of the sun god Ra, who dwells in the final third of Cancer. The navigational star Canopus is positioned between the horns of a reclining celestial bovine. 2. Jeriu Kepti Kenmut, signifying beneath the rump of Kenmut, derives from Kepti Kenmut's location to the west of the celestial cow. This spirit embodies the initial third of Leo and comprises 3 stars. The deity is Heru, the son of Auset. Heru and the pharaonic tradition are linked to the star Regulus in this area. 3. It is revered as Shu, the nator of cosmic wind, which presides over the second third of Leo. Jat is the bow of the ferryboat, a human-headed entity adorned with a crown of 4 feathers. 4. Its deity is Geb, and it governs the final third of Leo. On the occasion of the ferryboat, a falcon-headed deity dons a white crown. 5. Pehui Dijat. Legend states that a spirit possessing a human head adorns an Atef crown featuring 3 stars. Asar constitutes the fundamental principle of the initial third of Virgo and the deity. 6. It illustrates a falcon-headed deity adorned with horns and a sun-emblazoned uraeus. This sign governs the latter 2/3 of Virgo. Nefertum directs it. 7. The place of darkness. A human-headed entity adorned with a sun disk and a uraeus, distinguished by a single star. Ancient civilizations represented this area as an ear of corn due to the presence of the star Spica. The divinity associated with the final third of Virgo is Ra. 8. Bekasi, the pregnant, is a human-headed entity adorned with a red hat, horns, and a star upon its crown. The deity is Asar, who presides over the initial third of Libra. The star Arcturus, constituting the asterism Manat, guaranteed that all souls in the Duat were granted breath. 9. Ipset. The Evaluator, an orange entity with a falcon cranium, adorns a solar disk featuring a star symbolizing Uraeus. Linked to Libra's second and third deacon, it features Ra as its deity. 10. Asar's crown embellished a mummified guide or peacemaker, Sebshesen, who bore the pharaonic crook and flail. Situated in the final third of Libra, at Philae, astronomers refer to this star as the lover of sunlight, owing to its proximity to Alpha Centauri, one of the most luminous stars. The deity is Heru, indicated by 2 stars. 11. Tepi Shentet, a crocodile-headed deity with horns and a solar disk positioned before the spheres. The star Antares, linked to the scorpion goddess Selkit, is situated in this area. Asar is the deity governing the initial third of Scorpio. 12. 3 stars denote the vessel's center, with Heri Ibwea, a baboon, perched on a log. The deity Aya represents a mystical embodiment of the full moon and governs the second deacon of Scorpio. 13. The prophets, Sapeti Kenui, are dual-starred entities with serpentine crania. Ophiuchus and Serpens are the prominent constellations in this area. Heru, the progeny of Auset, governs this segment of Scorpio. 14. Shesmu, a spirit depicted with a human head adorned with a crown of Asar, complete with horns and urae, is referred to as the winepress. This constellation, characterized by 4 stars and presided over by Ra, governs the initial third of Sagittarius. This deacon spirit was linked to the Old Kingdom and Roman periods. The pyramid texts depicted Shesmu as a formidable butcher, whereas temple inscriptions designated him as the Lord of Perfumery. This is the area surrounding the galactic core. 15. The falcon-headed deity Sa-Shesmu is the progeny of Shesmu, a falcon-headed hart. It governs the second third of Sagittarius and is distinguished by 3 stars. 16. Kerai Kenem, esteemed as a hallowed baboon that foretells dawn. This deacon spirit assumes a human form at its apex. It presides over the final third of Sagittarius and is characterized by 2 stars. The territory of Sekhmet Bast, the protector of royal armies and the flaming eye of Ra, encompasses the star Phases, which is conventionally linked to warfare, soldiers, and aggression. 17. Tepui Ahmad, situated in the initial third of Capricorn, embodies a serpent-headed spirit distinguished by 2 stars. Its deity is Heru who loves. 18. The emblem of the second third of Capricorn, Pa-Sba-Wati, depicts a ram adorned with a sun disk crown on its horns. 19. Smad, embodying the essence of unity, dons the Atef crown adorned with 2 stars and governs the final third of Capricorn. 20. This entity is accompanied by a ram adorned with a solar disk between its horns and is distinguished by a single star, which governs the initial third of Aquarius. At Dendera, the spirit is accompanied by a goose, adorned with 12 stars. This area encompasses the stars of Aquila. 21. This disk, whose designation translates to Watcher of the Goose, is thought to encompass 8 bound captives. It governs the second third of Aquarius, although it precedes Surt because its stars are positioned below it. 22. Tepi Akui. Before the Shining Ones, this deacon is represented by a jackal-headed spirit and illustrated by a solitary star. It governs the third deacon of Aquarius. 23. The March 20 equinox is positioned at 5 Degraimon 15s of Pisces in the sidereal zodiac, linked to Akui, the luminous beings. Akui governs the initial third of Pisces. 24. Tepi Abawi, prior to the souls. The ram's horns bear a disc featuring a sun emblem distinguished by a singular star. Herishef, the god presiding over the second deacon of Pisces, governs it. 25. Bui, a mummified, decapitated, horned entity. Its location is denoted by 3 stars. It refers to the concluding third of Pisces. 26. Kentu Heru, vessel of Heru, a celestial entity characterized by a falcon cranium. Cetus, the whale, is a prominent constellation in this region. Cetus is located in the initial third of Aries. 27. Kentu Jeru, vessel of dawn, an unclothed adolescent seated on a lotus throne covering his mouth with both hands. Kentu Jeru governs the second third of Aries. 28. Ked, the oarsman. It governs the final third of Aries and is linked to Nita's divine fragrance, Nephatum. The asterism comprises 4 uraei and features an ideogram for mooring post. 29. Ked Sawi, watchers or guardians of Ked, depicted as a ram's head with multiple horns and a sun disk encircled by a star on the bark. Nefertum, the deity of Taurus, presides over the initial third of the constellation. 30. Kau, a humanoid spirit adorned with 7 stars on his head symbolizing the Pleiades, featuring a kneeling heart and uraei atop his head. Asar is the deity in the second third of Taurus. 31. Once a swine named Iret existed, distinguished by 12 stars, the sovereign of the final third of Taurus. The Book of Going Forth included incantations to placate the serpent deity Iret in the Duat. The Hyades occupy this area of the celestial sphere, a constellation linked to disorder and Set. 32. A human-headed spirit represented by a single star is called Remen Hiri, the lower shoulder of Orion. It governs the initial third of Gemini, overseen by the goddess Bastet, a benevolent feline who fosters tranquility in the household. Spirits from the past, known as ascended spirits, inhabit the constellation Orion and govern the Sahu area. The stars in the Orion belt are called the girdle of Daisirek. 3 stars denote the head of the spirit in this location. Sopdet is the divinity associated with the second deacon of Gemini. In Egyptian mythology, the impending harvest, the tranquility of Egypt, and the demise of royalty were foretold based on celestial phenomena when Sopdet ascended at the year's commencement. 34. Remen Keri, an ibis-headed serpent adorned with a star on its head, is called the upper arm of Orion. Linked to Tayet, the kneader of bandages, Remen Keri governs the final third of Gemini. She administers royal linen at Edfu, referred to as Mistress of the Robes, and supervises mummy wrappings at Dendera. She safeguards the grain from pests by assuming the form of a serpent. The king's linen garment symbolizes the magical power intricately woven into its fabric across both realms. 35. A deity possessing a falcon's head named Uairet. Shepset, a deity in Memphite theology, is one of the 7 spirits of Orion and presides over the initial third of Cancer. In the Dendera Zodiac, a falcon atop a pillar symbolizes the temple's axis, signifying the ancient Heru Shemsti, followers of Heru, the founders of the temple. Sirius's residence is situated in the sky. Traditionally, the heliacal rising of Sirius constituted the principal event of the temple's sacred calendar, and the culmination of Sirius in the sky established the temple's axis. 36. In Pehui Heri, a falcon-headed deity governs the extensive domain beneath Orion's dominion. 2 stars delineate the asterism. The asterism is located in the second third of Cancer. To comprehend the spiritual dimensions of ancient Egypt's sacred astronomy, which was both visual and cognitive, we must immerse ourselves in this experiential context. The Egyptians integrated lunar, solar, and stellar cycles into their ceremonies. This system posits that the gods experienced seasons, intervals during which they could manifest their powers and affect the phenomenal world to induce change, variation, and stability. The Egyptian civil solar calendar does not accommodate equinoctial precession. Thus, it no longer coexists with the Sothic calendar as it did in 139 BCE. In the Egyptian civil solar calendar year 2000, Sirius's heliacal rising occurred on August 3rd, Gregorian, aligning with the 14th day of the 4th month of Akhet, Choyach, in the Egyptian civil solar calendar. The lunar calendar's accuracy relies on observing Sopdet's annual rising, which occurs on varying days based on the temple's location relative to the equator. Consequently, the Egyptian solar calendar is unsuitable for adhering to an Egyptian canon protocol for spiritual practice. The table below presents the solar calendar months and their corresponding ideal periods aligned with the Sothic calendar. The holidays occurring between lunar months are synchronized with the solar events of the Sothic cycle. We can synchronize the 3 Egyptian calendars, lunar, solar, and stellar, by analyzing their zodiacal seasons. These seasons ascertain the solar and Sothic occurrences within the calendars. The sun traverses 12 constellations at dawn, annually, observable on the eastern horizon. The constellation Leo is visible from August 17th to September 18th. An observer can witness a full moon and a new moon in each constellation throughout the zodiacal season. For instance, the sun will enter Capricorn on January 15th, 2002, succeeded by the full moon in Capricorn on the 28th. Most contemporary calendars include lunar events. The Capricorn new moon transpires on February 12th, followed by the sun's ingress into Aquarius on February 14th, marking the conclusion of the Capricorn season. The moon occasionally trails the sun in the sky, resulting in the new moon not always followed by a full moon within the same constellation. Each season will feature both a new moon and a full moon within the same constellation, although, as illustrated in our example, the latter may occur before the former. The ancients utilized the sidereal zodiac, which is dynamic, in contrast to our primarily fixed tropical system. However, adhering to a strict schedule that specifies the sun's exact ingress into the visible constellations is unnecessary, as there are no universally accepted definitions of the constellations' beginnings or endings. The ancients promoted both fluidity and synthesis in their religious practices, encompassing their deities and calendars. The Egyptians embraced an inclusive philosophical perspective regarding sacred celestial spaces, permitting their overlap rather than enforcing arbitrary exclusion. In Egyptian esotericism, cosmic resonance supplies the energy necessary for a ceremonial plan to function rather than its observable mechanics, a perspective most ritualists can comprehend. Consequently, Egyptian rituals can be conducted at the onset of any cosmic occurrence, daily, during each of the 12 hours of day and night, determined by the principle of planetary hours, monthly, during the new moon and full moon, or annually, at the solar ingress into each zodiac sign or constellation. Astrologers utilizing the zodiac rather than the sun's ingress dates may note the alternative. Purists contend that the sun's entry dates into constellations diverge from the sacred astronomy of the ancient Egyptians. It is unnecessary to rely on the calendar to ascertain the dates of the equinoxes and solstices. The 12 constellations of the seasons serve as metaphorical representations of the 12 steps that form the divine body for deities and the spiritual dimension of an initiate. The archaic canon of ritual and temple tradition will be employed to formulate a liturgical calendar that delineates these seasons and summons the exceptional powers of the Neteru. Throughout this scheme, each Neta's ceremony embodies a cosmic principle that has arisen from timelessness and manifested in the present moment. In every season, the potency of each Neta materializes as sap in flora, contributing to the formation of the spiritual body within the cosmic universe. The sun's traversal through the zodiacal realms signifies the manifestation of this reality in our dimension, despite its existence in the cosmic expanse. This liturgy's theme, solar cosmology, comprises 12 ceremonies derived from ancient rituals. Each ceremony signifies a point in the cosmic calendar that influences Earth uniquely, offering participants essential elements for accessing divine existence. It was regarded as the ascent humanity's essential legacy and paramount objective of the ancient Egyptians for a fulfilled existence. The liturgy comprises 42 Neteru depicting the 12 primary functions of the zodiacal cycle. The 12 signs of the zodiac are assigned based on the sun, Ra, traversing the sky through Nut's body, the celestial vault, daily. Furthermore, Nut's consort, Geb, along with her offspring, Asar, Auset, Set, and Nebt-Het, maintained a significant connection to this phenomenon and their descendants, Heru, son of Asar and Auset, and Anpu, son of Set, and Nebt-Het. 4 additional zodiac signs are attributed to Het-Her due to her close association with Heru as his wife or co-wife, to Jehuti and Ma'at, as they are the sole celestial Neteru that communicate across all realms and are involved with circuits and cycles, and to Sekhmet Bast, as she is intimately linked to the sun in the roles of daughter, wife, and protector. Likewise, 2 fish, or 2 sycamore trees, oriented in opposite directions in the sky, symbolize Pisces, acting as markers in the sun's convoluted trajectory. These 12 ceremonies may be conducted at the new moon during each solar season, with one exception. The rite of communion should occur at the full moon of the season, as this is when the forces invoked at the new moon manifest. Lunar theurgy is most efficacious when initiated at the beginning of the cycle, new moon, and its outcomes are realized at its culmination, full moon. Celestial bodies originate from light. Aries signifies the conclusion of winter's dormancy, as the essence of light manifests into the physical form. Asar, the harbinger of renewal and an essential force for a season of rejuvenation, emerged in ancient Egypt at the rise of the Orion constellation in the east. In the Virgo season, Geb symbolizes the natural forces facilitating spiritual growth. Neta supplies all necessary physical and spiritual sustenance to enable the body of light to manifest physically, acting as the ancestral progenitor and creator of organic life. He instilled the traditional memory of divine lineage in the initiate, enabling it to evolve into a reservoir of wisdom conveyed through noble deeds. During the Libra season, Auset symbolizes the convergence of spirit and matter. Her quest to locate her partner's remains illustrates how the disjunction of spirit and matter on Earth has obliterated divine unity. Austin's commitment to her husband infused Egypt with enchantment and revitalization alongside the ancient custom of pharaonic succession. The Mysterium conjunction, divine union, of Asar's rejuvenation through Auset's sorcery symbolizes the divine order that ensues after the restoration of spirit and matter. As the sun transitions into Scorpio, the vital energy generated from the amalgamation of spirit and matter in Libra is converted into psychic sustenance for the journey through the cosmos. As a result, the initiate receives new abilities bestowed upon the soul by Anpu, enabling it to merge with divine forces through mystical communion by assimilating them. The Sagittarius season serves as a period for the purification of the light body, enabling experiences in divine realms to occur unimpeded by the cravings of the physical body, such as hunger, thirst, and desire. It is asserted that Sekhmet Bast's sacred fire cleanses the soul of its delicate ties to the physical realm, enabling it to wield its powers in synchrony with the universe's natural rhythm. The goddess of healing purifies the body through this action and grants it complete restoration. In Capricorn, the soul departs from physical existence to unite with the ancestral soul during a hibernation phase, facilitating the resolution of the past, present, and future. The set here distinguishes the initiate from the temporal realm, allowing entry into the domain of creation. The emergence of the world in Aquarius is accompanied by a series of purifications, as evidenced by the declarations of truth desired by Maat, the Nita of divine order. Her instruction seeks to assimilate the initiate into the cosmic order and the forces operating within it. She also imparts the principles of harmonious coexistence with the natural world. Astrologers assert that the Pisces season signifies the conclusion of cosmic journeys and the initiation of a new rhythm, encompassing endings and beginnings. Nut was revered as the archetypal mother in ancient Egypt, her likeness embellishing the ceilings and coffins of tombs, symbolizing the passage through which life entered or departed the body. The birth of a soul on earth signifies its arrival, while its return to the heavens denotes the conclusion of existence. The water jar on her crown symbolizes the womb that nurtures incarnations for the initiate and facilitates entry into new realms. The Egyptian deities appear remote and aloof due to their exalted imagery and formidable power. The ancients, however, possessed a contrasting perspective, as demonstrated by the multitude of artifacts discovered in contemporary times. Over the millennia, Egypt generated substantial amounts of amulets, pottery shards, pieces of papyrus inscribed with prayers, and rudimentary votive statues for domestic and funerary use. The Egyptians exhibited a profound connection with their deities, as evidenced by the sarcophagi. Celestial entities did not regard trivial or inconsequential requests then. Simplistic, subjective reasoning was not prevalent. The Neteru regarded interaction within the human realm as essential for augmenting their divine capabilities. Some individuals may contest the Neteru revered in the 12 ceremonies of this framework for personal or cultural reasons. We have integrated deities with cosmic or terrestrial affiliations to the 12 Heliopolitan gods to resolve this issue. At the designated time, a festival may be held in honor of each creator. Stones, hues, metals, incense and fragrances symbolizing the Nitas animate the depictions. Animals linked to the Neteru often manifest through natural rituals, signifying their presence. We can harness the energy dynamics of each Neta by comprehending the cosmic principle that governs it. Asar symbolizes renewal, providing solutions for anything requiring rebirth. An additional significant consideration is the Neter's function. It delineates how it may be invoked and the anticipated outcomes. Un-Nefer asserts that Asar's presence will catalyze a particular aspect of the situation or condition to emerge and manifest. Upon examining Egypt's sacred texts, it is evident that the aspiration for the perpetuation of life is directed towards Asar, the deity associated with the afterlife and the rejuvenation of existence. As the deity of regeneration, he imparts the dual lesson that we are destined to perish, while simultaneously existing within a domain inhabited by other spirits, deities, and natural forces to which we belong and are integral. Nonetheless, Asar did not have a greater following than the other Neteru. Rather, he was perceived as an emblem of all humanity, encompassing all sentient entities that must ultimately forfeit corporeal existence and transition into the realms of shadow. Consequently, we should interpret Asar's commemorative experiences and expressions as metaphors representing our existence. Asar abides by the principle of renewal. He reconstructs damaged, disassembled, or diminished items. Asar symbolizes new life, beginnings, and opportunities for renewal. His role is germination. This netter bestows inherent creative abilities upon living beings. It facilitates the rejuvenation of vitality, enhances appreciation for life, and promotes recovery. Deities associated include Hapi, the perennial Nile god, Sokar, the dormant life force, Anjeti, the spirit of the gnome who confers sovereignty through the crook and flail. Anhur, referred to as the waving one, symbolizes Orion, and Khentiamenti, known as of the Westerners, directs souls to the afterlife in Abydos. Het-Her, the goddess of fertility and sustenance, symbolizes the womb that fosters life in Asar's domain. Within her domain, all thrives and progresses through its inherent developmental cycle. Her temples, resonating with the sounds of sistra and drums, filled the halls and chambers that honored her as the consort of the sun, the younger Heru, symbolizing the rhythm of creation. The patroness of the arts supports the performing arts, particularly music, dance, and visual art. Ancient hymns and poetry consistently celebrate Nugget's luminous physical beauty, designating her as the Golden One. In these love poems, Nubit was invoked to captivate the beloved, as she epitomized the ideal of feminine allure and elicited profound passion and desire. In antiquity, Hathor's Temple functioned as a sanctuary for healing and provided solace to distressed minds. Her lunar powers enabled dreams to offer remedies and solutions for emotional and mental conflicts. Fertilization is a fundamental principle. Her encapsulates the energetic dynamic that unifies distinct forces and domains. Her name translates to House of Heru. Divergent powers within an environment of harmony and development. She operates in the realm of conception. Her influence extends to romantic partners and families. She aids in addressing mating rituals and remedies sexual dysfunctions. Festivities may become excessive or intoxicated in her presence. Her specialties include weddings and reunions. She's affiliated with Bat, the regional Neter at Dendera, representing her advantageous aspect. Renutet, the celestial cow whose milk sustains the royal individual. Bez, a Nubian deity linked to fertility and joy. And Meretseger, the guardian of offerings in the Theban necropolis. Jehuti, a chronicler of the Akashic record, derived all knowledge regarding the past and present. Jehuti aids in skill assessments. In the divine court, this netter acts as counsel and judge during Set's fraudulent claim to the Egyptian throne. Neter dismisses spurious allegations in instances of legitimate claims. This is the principle of resonance. Jehuti's energy dynamic elucidates knowledge, dismantling cognitive barriers. He possesses access to archaic knowledge and universal memory. Purpose: to convey information. Jehuti facilitates the transmission of messages and information while uncovering forgotten knowledge. He endorses divinatory practices, but engages with the mind more directly than through oracular instruments like magic mirrors and geomantic figures. He assists individuals who diagnose or repair equipment, tools, or machinery by alleviating cognitive disarray. Academics and scribes may consult him when acquiring new skills and languages, particularly symbol systems. The deities linked to Khans are Shu, the netter of cosmic, space, and wind; Seshat, a measurer and engineer; and Teki, a timekeeper and regulator of seasons. Nubt-Het. Auset consistently depicts her as his devoted companion, protector, and steadfast caregiver to the young Heru. During surgical procedures, hypnosis, or accidents when the body is inert or suspended. One of her fundamental roles is to monitor and protect vital functions to ensure the restoration of life. Purine. Excretion. Nebet. Het offers beneficial nourishment under newly established conditions. She will nourish, solace, provide, and assist in situations of deprivation or peril. Her responsibility is safeguarding and cultivating the youth, enabling them to realize their divine purpose with valor and dedication. She supports them. Nebt-Het sustains them both materially and spiritually. Her responsibility is to guarantee that the domestic table is consistently set, and that the nourishment ingested by the body is advantageous for its growth and sustenance as the patroness of offerings. Consequently, she rehabilitates her health and offers nutritional support. Associated deities include Tayet, the goddess of coverings, Nebet-Hetepet, the Heliopolitan consort of Atum and mistress of sacred offerings, Renutet, the nurse deity present at the birth of royal offspring, Nechebet, the ancient vulture goddess safeguarding the royal house, and Hatmahit, the dolphin goddess of Mendes. Heru. Ancient legends reference two distinct representations of Heru, Heru-Ur, the elder, and Heru-Behutet, the retributive son of the Heliopolitan lineage. These images symbolically embody the solar principle on Earth, representing the divine light that permeates the mundane realm and enlightens all facets of human experience and nature. Additionally, he is a sacred child, Heru-Pathart, a lover, Ihwai, a sovereign and unifier of the two lands, Sma-Tawi, and a timekeeper for the daily traversal of the sun across the horizons, Heru-Em-Akuti. The fully matured heir to the divine birthright, Heru-Ur, the elder, resides at the Kom-Ombo Temple in Upper Egypt as Sobek's healer. Analogous to Apollo at his healing sanctuaries in ancient Greece, individuals consider him the patron of medical practices and healing. Set and his malevolent associates persistently menace Heru-Behutet, the younger, the designated successor to Egypt. As the champion, he embodies the principles of sovereignty, courage, prudent administration, and dedication to a noble heritage. He additionally held the position of king. A principal source of masculine power in antiquity, he enriched the land with his strength and vigor, epitomizing male potency. Young Heru. Ascension. Mature. Heru. Exaltation. Heru's energetic influence fosters bravery and assurance in one's beliefs, regardless of challenges, envy, or disruptions from intrusive relatives. Initiation. Elder Heru. Mastery. Junior Heru. Heru acknowledges exceptional effort and commitment as a benefactor of the esteemed position. His influence enables him to make judicious decisions in managing others' affairs. Here, the intervention will advance his progress and garner his acknowledgement. The deities associated with Ra include Min, the god of prowess, Hereshef, the spirit of the gnome symbolizing ideal masculinity, Mont, the netter of victorious combat, the four sons of Heru, embodying energy, Imset, consciousness, Tao, Mutef, intuition, Kebsenuf, inspiration, and Hapi, sensation, and Dunawi, the protective initiatory figure known as the one with the Borgebengeb, esteemed as the progenitor of Egyptian culture, functioned as the protector of the land and the forebear of Egyptian civilization. His position as the consort of Nut, the sky, symbolizes the equilibrium of Earth, which counterbalances the ever-shifting celestial forces. As a robust entity, he prioritizes nature over humanity. His offspring inherit the stewardship and preservation of the royal house, and he intervenes to mediate conflicts when they encounter peril. Geb's abilities materialize divine concepts into tangible reality, facilitate successful outcomes and harmonious agreements, and enable the resolution of conditions. Creation is the essential principle. As a creator of the human form, Heru can remedy physical ailments and rectify deficiencies, particularly in youth. His intervention can facilitate consensus in familial disputes. Heru serves as the patron of judges and mediators, having acted as the sagacious arbitrator in the familial conflict between Heru and Set. He can advance business initiatives and construction endeavors, guaranteeing equitable remuneration for all stakeholders. Vegetation's purpose is to grow. Geb, as an agricultural deity, guarantees a steady supply for households and enterprises. His impact also enables artisans to thrive. Associated deities encompass the androgynous figures of Night, the healer and creator of the body in the lower kingdom, and Ptah, the divine artist who inspires builders and artisans. Khnum, the creator of the Ka, who shaped the perfect body and rectified imperfections, and Hotep, the lord of the offering table, provided abundance and alleviation from scarcity. Auset. Auset, the preeminent Neteru, has long been regarded as the origin of divine intervention and magic. Libra honors her powers and those allies who generate new life, rejuvenate vitality, and provide divine safeguarding. In moments of despair, she reinstates hope, and her intercession can amend the gravest situations. To garner Auset's attention, one must invoke her with assurance and authenticity. Her fidelity to the deceased god exemplifies her attentiveness and spiritual affection, establishing her as the patroness of the priesthood. This concept is referred to as the fruition principle. Auset's energy dynamic facilitates the complete manifestation of every condition, empowering all within her influence to surmount considerable challenges and eliminate detrimental forces and emotions. Birth constitutes a function. She epitomizes the essence of motherhood. Heru's mother births and nurtures the child, safeguards it from peril, and in her paramount role, directs the child towards realizing his ultimate fate and addressing his father's demise, enabling him to inherit the powers of existence in the earthly realm. In a reverent setting, she instructs on the appropriate application of personal power and the practice of high magic. Through her guidance, she instills dignity in tragic circumstances. The pyramid texts reference Sopdet, the star goddess of initiation, Meskenet, the deity of the birth chamber, and Selkit, the conqueror of toxins, and she who alleviates the windpipe. Auset is renowned for her extraordinary ability to uncover her father Ra's secret name, eliminate the poison from her son Heru, and aid in the restoration of his lost eye through various encounters with Set, as well as her capacity to heal and rejuvenate essential functions, particularly respiration. Midwives, emergency medical practitioners, and hospice caregivers are her devotees. The Anpu. Anpu, the devoted attendant and offspring of Set and Nebthet, represents psychic existence. His lineage endows him with formidable destructive capabilities, serving as a gatekeeper in obscure realms and a facilitator among their inhabitants. Anpu exemplifies the virtue derived from the judicious application of theurgy, notwithstanding his cautious allegiance to the solar deities and his celebrated feats. These attributes are manifested in his nocturnal calls, reminiscent of the desert jackal, and his depictions of the faithful domestic dog and the vigilant wolf of the necropolis. The digestive system operates on the principle of transmutation. Anpu's energetic dynamics can transform any condition, particularly confusion, dissolution, or decay. He possesses the ability to convert a hostile environment into a positive one. As a master of divination, he uncovers secrets and hidden motives, communicates with ancestral spirits, and diagnoses intricate cases. Additionally, he aids in guiding lost or missing individuals back to their homes. Anpu's healing capabilities can expedite recovery and restore mental clarity and optimism. Psychic afflictions, particularly fear, necessitate suitable remedies. and circumstances that defy conventional solutions require specialized intervention. Heka is the net of theurgy and the sovereign of magic. Khepri embodies renewal and transformation. Apuat serves as the opener of the ways and guardian of the shadow realms. Sekhmet Bast. A legend recounts that the sun god Ra summoned the Egyptian goddess Het-Her, who annihilated the desert inhabitants for their antagonistic conduct toward their creator. Consequently, Sekhmet Bast transformed into a fiery demigoddess, embodying the vengeful force that eradicated the evils besieging Egypt. By bathing in the blood of mortals, she earned a reputation among the gods as the feared avenger of transgressions and a fierce guardian of sacred realms. Upon the conclusion of the massacre, she proclaimed to Ra, "I have triumphed over the men, and am content." The goddess wields the ability to heal her own inflicted wounds, particularly those resulting from removing undesirable influences. Consequently, she eradicates the toxins from imprudent living, cognition, and emotions. Her priests were educated in antiquity in the most sophisticated medical practices, surgical procedures, and exorcism. Purification constitutes a fundamental principle. The energy dynamics of Sekhmet Bast are designed to counteract invasion, intrusion, and chaos. Utilizing her influence for trivial purposes is perilous. She safeguards psychic healers, soldiers, and law enforcement personnel. Her rituals are reputed to annihilate their intended targets. Although she may have been the sole practitioner of blood sacrifice, none have endured through the ages. Purgation aims at purification. While Sekhmet Bast's influence may induce fever and dermal eruptions, she eliminates bodily impurities. She supports all healers, therapists, and physicians, and she is provided with essential medical aid. Bastet is the deity of domestic tranquility. Pakhet is the goddess of retribution. Imhotep is the ancient physician and fountain of medical wisdom. And Amenhotep, son of Hapu, is a healer of the Middle Kingdom and a priest of Sekhmet Bast. Establish. Although Set's visage may evoke trepidation in ritualistic contexts, he has consistently been acknowledged as a significant entity within the cosmic framework. In the configuration of the Big Dipper, Set's cosmic scepter, Seb-Ur, greatest strength, is positioned at the Earth's pole, symbolizing his immense physical prowess. As a sovereign of terrestrial forces, he crafted exquisite implements from iron and lead, including the adze and ceremonial blades utilized in the opening of the mouth rituals. Al must come to terms with Set's formidable powers, which govern the fundamental laws of Earth and human existence. Consequently, he presides over corruption and decay, an essential phase in the cyclical nature of phenomena. Fixation, the principle. The energy dynamics of a Set can restrict free movement and cognition by enforcing physical constraints. His influence may lead to stagnation, requiring substantial remedial actions such as intensifying efforts, maneuvering through bureaucratic obstacles, and addressing opposition. Nevertheless, natural laws constrain his authority, and adherence to them will reduce his impact. The Set can aid in addressing issues misidentified or obscured by symptoms. It allows conditions to reveal their true nature. Corruption serves a purpose. It aids in confronting insurmountable challenges that may seem daunting and overwhelming by highlighting adversaries without concession. The vulnerable can rebound with revitalized strength, mental resilience, and physical endurance. Deities linked to cyclic phenomena in the organic realm include Apep, the Devourer, known for his healing abilities; Sobek, the crocodile god; Taut, the goddess of procreation; and Sokar, the goddess of hibernation and the winter solstice; Maat, Ironically, the personification of Ma'at is the versatile and fluid structures of nature. When disruptions disrupt the natural order, Ma'at, the goddess of justice and order, guarantees a swift restoration. When earthly laws are evaded, she administers cosmic justice. This is her paramount role. This Neta is linked to divinatory arts alongside astrology. She interprets divine concepts, serving as an intermediary between humans and the deities when guidance or answers are requested. At the bow of the sun's vessel, she guarantees its adherence to the elliptical trajectory of its beams. The order constitutes the fundamental principle. The energy dynamic of Ma'at swiftly reorganizes when circumstances are significantly disrupted or beyond objective regulation. Furthermore, she oversees the advancement of strategic initiatives, encompassing infrastructure, commerce, and education. Functionality, framework. Furthermore, she is a celestial mentor, elucidating intricate concepts and dilemmas. A Neta delivers equitable adjudication in legal matters and innovative solutions to ostensibly insurmountable challenges. One must be prepared to engage with her response framework. It may not adhere to conventional standards, yet it will facilitate the normalization of the situation. The deities include Seshat, the divine architect and arbiter of measures, and the 42 Ma'ati, each representing law and order. As delineated in the esteemed Declaration of Innocence recited by priests upon entering the temple, and by the deceased as they transition to the afterlife. Nut. The human experience commences and concludes with the Celestial Mother, whose vast power facilitates the perpetuation of life in cyclical patterns of introspection and enlightenment. The ancient priests linked her to astronomy, perceiving the sky as her physical form, precisely measuring time and monitoring the cycles of celestial events. In her corporeal manifestation, she is linked to divination deities, as all past and future events originate from the firmament. The Internet, an endless source of possibilities, produces novel concepts. Augmentation constitutes a principle. Nut contributes to augmentation that improves labor yield and the genesis of ideas. As exemplary incubators, they provide support for all tasks. The purpose of gestation is gestation. The Nut's aquatic domain provides tranquility and restoration. Her aspirations provide restoration and understanding, and her intuition manifests when necessary. This Neta, alongside its fertility, can alleviate challenges associated with conception, pregnancy, and childbirth. The following deities were also linked to Atum: Tefnut, the Neta of cosmic moisture and progenitor of Nut; Nun, the primordial water that revitalized the spirit and restored the body; Nefertum, the divine youth whose fragrance incited spiritual visions; Mut, the nurturing mother who safeguarded the air; and Heket, a birth goddess represented as a frog. The sun's traversal across the sky, regarded as a sacred occurrence by the Egyptians, guaranteed Ma'at, order, and continuity. As the sun god Ra traverses his daily path, divine vitality disseminates throughout the visible realms, and upon completing his annual journey through the constellations, the seasons of that vitality become available to the temple. Ancient temple workers needed to comprehend the relationships between celestial rhythms and theurgical practices. As the 12-sign zodiac was not incorporated into temple art until the Greco-Roman era, it ought to direct us to the present. The astrological framework aligns with this aim and enables the initiates to perceive the influences of the celestial seasons and the Neteru, who elevate their awareness. Neoplatonism, a philosophical movement that evolved over several centuries in the Greco-Roman era, amalgamated Egyptian spiritual insights with the doctrines of Plato, Pythagoras, Aristotle, and Stoicism. It safeguards certain esoteric traditions of Egypt by amalgamating religious and metaphysical concepts. The Greek perspective on spiritual practice posits that this contemplation facilitates the conscious mind's engagement with irrational experiences. This imparts emotion and perception to illogical proficiency. Although Neoplatonism distanced itself from the intuitive and sensory dimensions of spirituality, theurgy, divine work, articulated religious experience. A prevalent fallacy is that magic stems from divine intervention, or embodies supernatural forces. Nonetheless, the term also conjures the essence and purpose of ancient Egyptian spirituality. Theurgy can fulfill the yearning for spiritual experience by engaging our senses and conscious minds to encounter the sacred. This method of spiritual practice offers the substantial advantage of imparting benefits to the practitioner. A grace realized through the connection between the theurgist sacrament and God. Theurgy posits that nature and natural forces possess intelligence, allowing for possible and desirable communication, as evidenced by the priestly tradition of pharaonic Egypt and the subsequent Hermetic philosophy of the Alexandrian sages. The Neoplatonic philosopher Iamblichus, 16th century CE, delineated how communication with the gods satisfies human needs. The existence of the gods bestows physical health, moral virtue, and intellectual purity. The company of the gods exalts all aspects of our being, raising them to a moral principle. Invoking the deities emancipates individual souls from their desires and imbues them with celestial affection and profound happiness. They also gain from an elevated degree of excellence and vitality. This interaction has two facets. The ancients posited that the Neteru pursued an understanding of divine existence within the ordinary realm, akin to human endeavors. Natural forces are interconnected with human existence, and the deities personify this relationship. This illustrates God's tripartite engagement with us, the initial aspect being his theurgic imperative. By manifesting their presence, the Neteru augment their power and expand their corporeal domain. Consequently, metaphysical necessity serves as the second objective. Neteru's growing connection to the physical realm ties him to tangible objects, while Ted cultivates an affinity for wildlife. Thirdly, the Neter engages with terrestrial existence for poetic purposes. Neter's imprint enhances the substance he represents here. The Neter's power imprints modify and enhance the physical form. This phenomenon results in the altered material, form, functioning as a medium, enabling it to be read or interpreted for divination, prophecy, and healing. In what ways did Egypt's sacraments diverge from those of other cultures? Furthermore, what theurgic, magical, and poetic requirements were fulfilled during their performance and reception? These inquiries frequently emerge during the analysis of temple tradition, and even academics encounter difficulties in offering responses. Numerous actions are illustrated in the ritual texts, forming the established liturgies that summon the deity's powers and were conveyed to recipients across Egyptian history. The notion of ritual forges a connection, while the Neteru, as divine intermediaries, rejuvenate the human bond with the natural world within the Egyptian framework. The temple's spiritual function is contingent upon the landscape of the natural environment, akin to celestial and terrestrial phenomena. This work will define rites and rituals as intentional words and actions conducted in a sacred context by tradition, exemplified by the rite of offering. It is considered a ceremony or observance when conventions are devoted to a particular purpose or deity, exemplified by the ceremony of opening the mouth, which includes offerings and various rites. Egyptians also observe festivals that honor the manifestations or deeds of the Neteru. Numerous rituals and ceremonies enhanced the celebrations, such as journeys, the etched festival of Amun's bark traversing from the Karnak temple to the Luxor sanctuary, processions, the annual interment of Osirian effigies at Abydos, and communal festivities, the festival of intoxication at Dendera. Kesu writes, "It is uncommon for established rituals, enduring for millennia, to diverge from tradition, frequently invoked during daily practices and significant events. Ancient Egyptian cultures recognized this and ascribed its remarkable potency to its age and adherence to tradition. Individuals conducted kesu, prescriptions or rites, in domestic settings, temples, tombs, and during public festivals. All ceremonies, regardless of scale, incorporate these traditional rites. There are two primary categories of kesu: Hotep and Wabu. Hotep, offering rituals. Offering acts is an essential component of every rite in the Egyptian tradition. Daily offerings are made in the temple for the living, the deceased, and the deities. Periodic offerings occur at the tomb, and calendrical offerings align with the sacred astronomy that dictates solar, lunar, and stellar phenomena. This act recognizes the interdependence of life and the metaphysical transition of power from the material to the spiritual realm, and its subsequent return to the ordinary. Formal offerings reinforce the connections between the tangible and intangible realms by acknowledging and distributing the results of the effort. In all agricultural societies, the distribution of goods is a fundamental component of social and religious practices, particularly in Egyptian ceremonies. They presented a range of offerings, each possessing distinct ceremonial importance. Individuals commonly characterize temples and tombs as sites where they routinely and consistently present consumable offerings to the deity of the deceased. Temples and tombs also presented votive offerings of intricately crafted or meaningful objects to venerate the deities or the deceased. Besides commemorating sacred days or events, such offerings may symbolize instruments that the deities may endow, including physicians' tools, jewelry, architects' implements, and scribes' materials. These offerings are occasionally made and are exempt from the regulations governing other offerings. For instance, fish was never presented during ceremonies. Gesture giving is most effective when one anticipates a reciprocal reaction. The divine alters the presented material through its poetic imperative. The Egyptians believed they finalized the offering circle and interpreted the matter using this transformed substance. The communal banquets after funerary rites and the return of offerings post-temple rituals exemplify this. Wabu purification rituals. In Egypt, purification rites precede every ceremony or festival. Nonetheless, purity does not imply that participants are impure or undeserving of these observances. Rather, these actions signify the entrance into a new realm and the recognition of a state of rebirth. These observances replicate the rejuvenation of the land through the river's flooding, or the child's introduction to the world marked by bathing and donning new garments. Individuals entering the divine house as part of the daily temple ritual must be physically and ritually pure. Personal bathing, anointing within the sacred house, and reciting texts that conveyed moral purity were integral components of this practice. The deity engaged in ritual cleansing, vestment, and sustenance from the image of the Netta during the daily ritual, necessitated by its descent from celestial realms at night and re-entry into the terrestrial realm by day. The gestures of purity articulate the transcendent objective of theurgy and signify dedication to divine endeavors. Individuals can realign their behavior or attitude with divine objectives through these actions. Purification serves as a reminder that all rituals embody the inherent perfection of creation. The practitioner may customize the kesu according to their convenience and preferences. These fundamental temple rituals, reminiscent of ancient practices, are conducted in the morning, although participation is optional. Ceremonies of the firmament. The divine frequencies of solar, lunar, and stellar astronomy make creativity attainable. The rhythms within the temple generate its energies and rejuvenate them cyclically. Iru, fabrications, are temple rituals that take place during specific times, including new and full moons, lunar, solstices, and equinoxes, solar, as well as astronomical phenomena like Sirius's heliacal rising, or its return to the temple's designated star. These ceremonies are conducted at particular times of the year, and must be determined using the temple's sacred astronomical system. This encompasses any occurrence that signifies the commencement of a new cycle, such as the Wag festival for the Lunar New Year. The Iru harnesses the Nata's cosmic emanation and channels it to augment human and natural existence. Ancient Egyptians posited that divine energy permeated all phenomena and manifested most powerfully in celestial bodies where the souls of revered individuals could traverse. Hebu festivals. Ancient Egypt commemorated periods, calendars. The holidays celebrated the 5 offspring of Nut and Geb and their heroic exploits, including Heru's triumph over Set. The events were typically arranged on designated dates and encompassed traditional ceremonies, such as the pharaonic coronation, celebrated on the inaugural day of Tybi. Calendric ceremonies, Hebu, the plural of Heb, meaning festival, establish connections between the visible and invisible realms, enabling energy and information transfer. Integrating the natural world with the Nita's realm satisfies the metaphysical requirement. Temple members or the temple partake in Hebu as necessary, such as during a funeral or wedding. Consequently, the domain of the Neta spans from the celestial to the terrestrial realm. When the actions of the gods are imitated, their power integrates into the participant's daily existence and enhances the surroundings. Keperu, transformations. The ultimate objective of theurgy is Hebu, a transformation from the ordinary to the sacred experience, which includes other notable human occurrences. In ancient Egypt, these elevated rituals were exclusively designated for royal family members and the priesthood. Nonetheless, other societal members could engage through comprehensive temple training and achievements in particular fields, including medicine, theology, and astronomy. Keperu's realm also includes spells and sorcery. Masen founding ceremonies. Execute this ritual for a designated or indefinitely, facilitating the recipient's transition into a new existence. It commemorates the monarchy's initial coronation, the inauguration of the divine house, name bestowals, and the mysterious Sed festival, which impart a novel worldview and identity. Sa'aku, initiation, ceremonies. Sa'aku signifies to exalt and execute exalted rituals. These rituals are designed to bestow new abilities, powers, and obligations upon the initiate. The Book of Breathings and the Opening of the Mouth exemplify this category of Egyptian spiritual literature. Both discuss improvements and serve as documentation of ceremonies and investitures for pharaohs and priests. These ceremonies and investitures resemble what Hermetic literature refers to as creating gods. Through these processes, individuals attain divine creative power. These events encompass multiple recipients, including the living, the suffering, death, and temples. The daily routine. Period. Contemporary society refers to this daily practice as the ritual of the divine cult, establishing it as one of Egypt's most frequently referenced temple ceremonies. The funerary and dedicatory rites of Egyptian monuments, particularly the temples of Karnak and Abydos, encompass various elements of this ritual. The temple regularly conducted it at dawn, utilizing numerous personnel, predominantly local residents, for at least one season. During this daily occurrence, various offerings and rituals were conducted, including awakening the deity, providing sustenance, and transferring its power to divine images or individuals through the officiants. Within the temple, 53 individual rites were conducted daily, consistently adhering to tradition. Alongside location-specific hymns and offerings, temple rites were enhanced with supplementary hymns. When a deity statue wore a uraeus crown, Wadjet, Meret Seger, and Renutet, each received distinct offerings and libations. At dawn, the deity arose and was greeted warmly by the ordinary realm. Every temple commemorated the festival, ranging from the most modest local shrine to the grandest urban temples along the Nile. During this ceremony, the Heb assumed the position of the divine sun, ushering Neter into the temple as the pharaoh's representative. As a living descendant of the gods, the royal individual was deemed fit to perform divine duties. Moreover, the sovereign supplied sustenance and garments for the celestial entities. In many instances, spiritual surrogates performed the responsibilities of royal individuals. Temple traditions dictate that temple priests were tasked with executing these duties. Procedure to be followed in this venerable ritual: igniting the brazier in the sanctuary. 2 deep stone cauldrons brimming with embers flanked the temple entrance, supplying essential incense coals. Introducing the censer. This marks the Neter's inaugural encounter with the incense-burning censer. The Heru, referred to as the Hand of Heru, is characterized by an elongated rod that culminates in a hand or a falcon's claw, which securely holds the incense bowl. Compact, spherical forms of valuable substances, storax, benzoin, frankincense, and myrrh, pay tribute to the Neter. The incense on the fire initiates the consecration of the naos. Ascending to the holy place entails invoking the deity through chants and litanies. The preceding night, the sealing cord fractured while affixing the naos with a stamped clay seal and a papyrus cord. The conviction held that the Neter would remain in its celestial domain until dawn, at which point it would descend into the temple. We intended an incantation to protect the officiant from any harm arising from violating the clay seal. The seal-breaking ritual involved attendants wielding ceremonial brooms and brushes to maintain order and cleanliness within the sanctuary. Open the naos door and recite litanies of the divine names to unveil the deity's visage. Then, in reverence, tilt your head. The ritual culminates when the Neter reveals its visage to its servant. During prayer, the divine powers are recognized and supplications are articulated. The officiant and attendants prostrate themselves before the Neter. Upon the Neter's arrival, he bestows a kiss upon the sacred ground of the sanctuary. The temple musicians revere the Neter. Individuals extol the Neter and compose hymns. The introduction of honey commences with the meal of the Neters. The Neter is censed during the presentation of incense. Departing the sanctuary. The depiction of Neter exits the enclosed naos. Entrance to the shrine. Proceed inside to discover the depiction of Neter. Attendants are present, preserving. Exit the sanctuary chamber, the Neter. The Neter enters the Hall of Appearing, located immediately outside the sanctuary, via the steps of the sanctuary. The festival discloses that the Neter had his garments removed the preceding day. The mouth is opened. In this ritual, the image of the Neter is reanimated using the instruments of Un-Ra, the ceremonialist specializing in this practice. Impact on the face facilitates the opening of the mouth. The offering table is anointed with a touch of Nile water. Bowls containing valuable oils are positioned on the table for the libation. The ultimate consecration of God's morning meal entails the scrutiny of the offerings and oils. Table of offerings. Temple tradition required each Neter to partake in a morning meal, which differed based on the region and purpose of the establishment. The presentation litanies delineated each element of the offering. The temple has now consecrated the images of all the deities. Presenting offerings to all deities. The offering table is transported to the temple's altars of all subordinate gods. We chant hymns while extracting the representation of the deity from the sanctuary. During the presentation of Ma'at, the officiant enumerates the images of the Netta in the king's name, as the temple chanters perform hymns. The concept of Ma'at, truth and order, reflects adherence to ancient protocol, with the primordial pattern enduring. We are formally censing all the images in the sanctuary. We are presently redacting all the photographs. Laying hands on the deity involves transferring power to the officiant. Upon its completion, a ritual can transfer power to another image, individual, or object, SA. The sacred toilet commences with the opening of the casket, which holds ritual vases and other substances. This purification ritual utilizes the principle of proliferation. Green vases are filled with water, which is then poured into a bath. A water bath from the 4 Deshret vases purifies the ritual. In a natron purification, one disperses the powder onto a cloth and massages the sacred image. The initial exhibition of Morinet's garments occurs, adorning with white garments. The image is bestowed its initial attire, arranged meticulously by hue. The Netta dons green garments in its sanctuary to represent life, thereby guaranteeing its prosperity. The Netta dons red garments to augment his animation skills. The regalia adorns Neta's likeness. The temple priest offers the Neta 10 flasks of valuable oils, each applied to the forehead. The temple priest employs those 10 oils in his purification rite. Copper cosmetic. This material, possessing medicinal and mystical attributes, augments the Neta's sight. Galena delineates the eyes, enabling them to perceive within the corridors and chambers of the divine house. Galena gently sprinkles sand on the sanctuary floor and subsequently sweeps it. We navigate the sanctuary 4 times in a clockwise direction. We navigate around the sanctuary with bet incense. The circumambulation of the natron vase symbolically cleanses the sanctuary. Purifications. Recitations. Guarantee. The sanctuary is devoid of antagonistic entities. Divine food. The Neta proffers a modest offering, typically a statue or carving in front of the naus. They offer naus a small bowl of water. Before the naus, they display the natron in a diminutive bowl. The temple incinerates myrrh in its braziers and secures the naus door for a final judgment. A sealing service will ensue this evening. It is essential to monitor the individual's awakening, conscious engagement in the present, and active spiritual practices daily. These practices include purification, offering, and the reversal of offering, communion, kesu. As a living entity, the temple undergoes variations in its capacity to rejuvenate, equilibrate, and foster harmony. Regular adherence to these powers is what yields advantages for us. The kesu achieves this through personal purification that activates the divine essence, succeeded by an offering ceremony that strengthens the connection between the Neteru, nature, and human existence. One may also recite the temple cosmogony and its perpetual renewal as an element of an individual's kesu. Sacred literature frequently asserts, through its knowledge it advantages the knower. It effectively prepares the soul. Nevertheless, the officiant derives the greatest benefit from these rituals and occupies a pivotal role in the daily transformations instigated by the kesu. The temple ritual replicates the eternal creative principle that generates and sustains life. Through this process, one integrates into nature's dynamic flow as a co-creator. Wabu purifications. Ancient beliefs posit that the human body is a microcosm of the universe. The Egyptians regarded the spinal cord as a source of stability and believed it to be divine. The mystical dismemberment of Asar, symbolized by the Djed, was integral to a sacred ceremony commemorating divine recreation and renewal. The 7 cervical vertebrae in the neck correspond to the 7 visible planets. The 12 thoracic vertebrae represent the constellations illuminated by the sun's trajectory, and the 5 lumbar vertebrae symbolize the 5 elements. The sacrum is situated inferior to the lumbar vertebrae and articulates with the pelvis. The sacrum consists of 5 fused vertebrae, symbolizing the 5 cardinal points of the physical realm. The coccyx, or tailbone, is situated beneath the sacrum and symbolizes the 5 kingdoms of nature to which humanity pertains: animal, vegetable, mineral, elemental, and angelic. Each ceremony commences with a vital purification, in which participants cleanse their bodies and eliminate all worldly influences from their souls before approaching the divine presence. In antiquity, priests commenced their daily rituals in the grand temples by immersing themselves in the sacred pool and donning fresh garments and sandals. Hand and nail hygiene was essential. The objective of these intricate rituals extended beyond mere sanitation. Purification reiterates creation and foreshadows rebirth through divine forces. Theurgists symbolically arise in purity from the primordial earth to approach the Nether during the purification ceremony. Fragrance is a vital component of the temple's sacramental collection. The ceremony's purpose is to sanitary, the capacity to sanctify objects by inhaling the aroma from the censer. Positioning the center near the recipient enables the fragrant air to infiltrate their garments, hair, and skin. The deity Shesmu symbolizes the esoteric procedure of extracting botanical essences for producing wine, perfume, and pharmaceuticals. He is linked to the Netta Sokar within the Memphite tradition and the 18th Decan. Nefertum, offspring of Ptah and Sekhmet Bast, is regarded as the patron deity of fragrance. A lotus, which he anthropomorphizes, also symbolizes divine inspiration and elevation from sacred flora. Legend states that Sokar, who blended aromatic substances for the gods, is intimately connected to these deities. Infusion is the method of converting botanicals into revered elixirs. Alongside crafting silver bowls, he created sacred offerings for the temples. He symbolizes the metamorphosis of materials into refined forms that represent the temple's purification and sacrificial rituals. Anointing rites are significant in theurgy. Moreover, these actions authorize particular entities to access the location where invocations transpire. Ancient Egyptian tomb installations involved the application of oil to wall paintings and inscriptions, as well as to the statues and scepters utilized in funeral rites. In utterances 72 to 81 of the esoteric pyramid texts, it is asserted that the initiate's brow is anointed with 7 sacred oils, succeeded by the application of kohl prior to ascending into the domain of the sky god. The oils are Stiheb, Hekenu, Sefech, Neheman, Tuawet, Ha-ash, and Tet en Tehenu. The opening of the mouth ceremonies encompassed oils for anointing. I'm presenting them in alabaster containers. The procedure entails pouring them into the recesses of anointing tablets. The term Eye of Heru denotes the mythical narrative of restoring Heru's eye, which is replicated in every sacramental offering. The priest articulated the subsequent 4 statements. The Stiheb festival perfume is intended for you. Acquire this Eye of Heru, derived from his likeness, Hekenu oil. Contemplate this Eye of Heru, Sefech oil, which alleviates divine anguish. Utilize this Eye of Heru to obtain protection, Neheman oil. The Eye of Heru, Tuawet oil, aids the deities. Invoke the divine essence to unveil the Eye of Heru, facilitating his transformation into a spirit and amplifying the power within his corporeal form. You may evoke admiration in the spirits of those who behold him, Ha-ash, pine oil. Envision yourself as Heru, which you don upon your forehead, Teten Tehenu, Libyan oil. Heru's vision, green coal, rejuvenates you. The Eye of Horus is applied to your face, black coal. Your vision remains unaffected. Your eyes are undamaged. Awaken in tranquility. Let us engage in communion. The practice and ritual of purification are essential elements of all religious traditions. The following are rites for personal purification, to be performed privately or incorporated into the monthly ceremonies for your benefit. Refer to the Neteru correspondences for oil selection. If the participant is unable to apply all the oils to the body, recite and apply a small amount of oil beneath each nostril. There exist 7 substances associated with funerary tradition for the small anointing and the great anointing, as well as 10 oils designated for temple purification. Literature. There was no rigid correlation of aromas in this ritual, as the Egyptians employed materials pertinent to the temple's locale, temporal context, and customs, alongside the botanical associations with the Neteru. Ancient civilizations esteemed olive oil for its purity and could replace all floral and botanical extracts. According to personal preference, the anointing rite may be performed in either a small, gasu nej, or a great, gasu ur variant. Nonetheless, constraints related to time and resources must be acknowledged. During the temple ceremony, administer the anointing to each head crown, alongside amalgamating the oils into a singular offering bowl. A distinctive temple oil may be crafted utilizing fragrances pertinent to the season or the temple. Gasu nej, small anointing. Each of the 7 centers corresponds to a crucial aspect of an initiate's metaphysical framework. The anointing reconstitutes and amalgamates these aspects into the Ark, the spiritual essence of all the Urgi, the body of light. Hekau Recitation Center. I attain purity through my speech. Uabkua. I transform into a soul when I grasp your hands, Bakua. I have grown more resilient. Yuzakua. My heart is imbued with glory. Kukua. My neck attains divinity. Jezakua. I transform into Netakua as a deity. I am crown, the essence of creation. I am Nokbahepera. Gasu-ur signifies great anointing. Cleanse and dry the body in a circular motion from head to toe. During this anointing, we purify the hands first, followed by the body from the feet upwards. Each fragrance is arranged on a table, akin to the configuration of anointing tablets discovered in mortuary and temple sites. These tablets permanently embed sacred oils into carved wells designated for anointing. This approach is advantageous for ceremonial settings, where the handling of flasks is cumbersome and inefficient. The ritual in the outermost section of the temple is oriented towards the east. Atum, purified hands. Atum encompasses both my corporeal form and essence. It exists as Kepri each day to prevent decay or corruption. The essence of Ra'atum is Nukba Ra'atum, or Perta Makati, which emerges from both horizons. Master of existence, ruler of the deities. Isu Jesef, Ankh Neteru, you have rejuvenated my health. I am grateful to you. Nuts are utilized for foot purification. Transform into my stabilizing entity, stabilizer, enveloping me in a gilded sanctuary. Bestow upon me the fortitude to persevere eternally. The essence of nut belongs to me. The nut is my sibling. You have rejuvenated my health. I'm grateful to you. The third step entails ma'at, purifying the calves. Convey me to the Chamber of Equitable Adjudication Stabilizer, the entity who comprehends the truth in all its manifestations. Ma'at embodies my essence. I am Nukba Ma'at. You have rejuvenated my health. I am grateful to you. Allocate a specific duration to cleanse your knees. I appeal to you, stabilizer, who grounds me. Position me in the sacred locations. The set embodies the essence of the universe. Suti represents the spirit of the universe. You have revitalized my health. I am grateful to you. Purification of the thighs. Sekhmet bust. Proceed through the gate that protects the sacred fire. Stabilizer of offerings. Sekhmet bust embodies my essence. Nuk ba Sekhmet. I am Sekhmet. You have rejuvenated my health. I am grateful to you. Anpu cleanses the pubis. As I manifest my presence on earth, stabilizer, keeper of secrets, guard the gate. As Anpu, I serve as a stabilizer. I am Nuk. You have rejuvenated my health. I am grateful to you. The plexus is refined by Oset. Stabilizer. You who generate the restorative breeze, come and ready the location for my Ba's return. The essence of Oset dwells within me. You have revitalized my health. I am grateful to you. Gastric purification. Gi-eb. Approach. Stabilizer. A manifestation that accelerates the yield of the fields. Allow me to rise from the earth with the day in my wake. Geb embodies my soul. Geb represents my essence. You have rejuvenated my health. I express my gratitude. The sanctification of the heart. Heru. Approach. Stabilizer. You entity that vanquishes the phantoms in the nocturnal conflict. Arrive at the location where I emerge from the abyss. The essence of Heru resides within me. Nurub Mahru. You have rejuvenated my health. I express my gratitude. Nebtet. Throat purification. Take me to the location where I can breathe anew, O stabilizer that lies upon her brother's grave. Nebtet embodies my essence. I am Nebtet. You have rejuvenated me. Thank you. Jehuti. Oral purification. Safeguard my identity. Stabilizer for me is the entity that articulates veracity across the cosmos. Jehuti embodies my essence. I am Jehuti. My health has been restored. Thank you. The cleansing of the forehead. Het her. The structure. Stabilizer and enhanced strength in her father's bark. Where your Heka rejuvenates the concealed eye. I am the essence of Het her. I am the essence of Het her. My health has been restored. Thank you, Sutan. Asar's purification. Chapter 13. Stabilizer. You represent the essence of existence that emerges when my car is unimpeded. I am Nuk. My spirit is Asar. You have rejuvenated me. Thank you, Sutan. Purification of the nape. The sons of Heru. The Neteru fashioned my corporeal form, and in their gaze I am impeccable. Within my body resides truth and order. I am Webu-a, Ma'at, and Khat-a. Offerings in the Hotep. Hotep, denoting an offering, encompasses additional meanings such as satisfaction, wholeness, and peace. It was believed that the gods embodied all human functions, including eating and drinking, except their supernatural abilities. This perspective asserts that they derive pleasure from the earth's bounty, but disdain offerings from adversarial sources. In ancient Egypt, temple and tomb offerings aimed to strengthen the connections between humanity and divine entities, which was the overarching purpose of all Egyptian rituals. Many perceived these offerings as sacrificial, driven by the intent to placate an offense or rectify a historical grievance. A sacrificial mindset was essential. relinquishing the ordinary ego to achieve a primordial unity with nature and the deities. In Egyptian thought, animals and natural forces are genuine manifestations of Neteru, while sacred images are static representations and symbols. Theurgic processes may transform these images into divine embodiments. Initially, a ritual consecrates an idea to the Neter for its exclusive utilization, empowered by the Neter's essence. The image preserves its archetype through ongoing sustenance from offering rites. Although the Neter resides in the physical realm, these objects venerate, sustain, and reinforce it. The Neteru in the temple accepts 3 categories of offerings. Such offerings facilitate healing, restoration, and empowerment. Rituals like the opening of the mouth utilize these offerings to rejuvenate essential functions. Liturgically, we can channel particular potent energies from these offerings to invigorate terrestrial or celestial existence with the light body, the Ba, Ka, and Kut. Kesu, traditional rites, encompass mourning rituals and offering customs in necropolises. When the deity, individual, or imbued object exists in the physical realm, it must preserve its spiritual essence. Individuals present gifts in reverence to deities or ancestral spirits. Abstract qualities represent a devotion to the divine. These offerings included Ma'at, order and justice, Ankh, life, Uas, influence, and Ren, one's name or identity. These 3 offerings maintain the connection between the material and immaterial realms. The Neter attains divinity upon interaction with these sustenances, physically or symbolically. The ceremonialist accepts the offering, thereby forging a connection with communion. The Neter returns the offering after it has been satisfied, symbolizing the dissemination of divine energies that permeated the world through the ritualistic domain. All participants assimilate the forces among the celestial bodies, culminating in a divine embodiment. Ancient Egyptians viewed consumption as a mystical symbiosis for acquiring divine power. The dimensions, forms, and sources of offerings dictated the spiritual restoration for both deities and the deceased. Since gods were linked to particular offerings, numerous festivals were dedicated to them as embodiments of divinity. For instance, Hathor regarded beer as sacred due to her intoxicated frenzy in the deliverance of humankind, aimed at punishing Ra's progeny. Set's pejorative moniker, the Drunk One, rationalized her indulgent behavior. The ceremonial offering's esoteric importance arises from Heru losing his left eye in a confrontation with Set. This eye represented his paternal lineage. Auset and the other deities enacted restorative rituals before Jehuti, another lunar deity, reinstated the site. Offerings in temples and tombs were typically prefaced by the phrase, "Receive this eye of Heru," which served as the archetype for all offerings in ancient Egypt. The symbolism is significant. Beyond restoring Heru's eye, human existence fulfills its obligation to divine energy. Additionally, ceremonialists unite the various forces of nature through offerings to mend the fractured unity of creation and restore completeness to the deity. Offerings are presented to the Neter during the temple set, but each should acknowledge the ancestral body and particular individuals within one's family or social network, who will also receive benefits. A tribute to the Neter. The Neter offering is typically preceded by an intricate censing that invites it into the temple and imparts a sacred aroma at the ritual's commencement, the Iru and Hebu. This may occur on a reduced scale during the daily offering. The offering may be modest, such as a piece of fruit or a flower, or encompass the entire family meal. It is initially presented to the Neter and subsequently consumed as customary. Ancient Egyptians typically prepared it at dawn or during their regular meal preparations at home. During offering ceremonies, a designated tray for offerings, the Hotep tray, must be utilized. The tray's depth should be adequate to avert the displacement of items and the spillage of water. The food presented must be consumed and disseminated to beneficiaries or returned to nature promptly following the ritual. Floral offerings may be left during daylight hours, but should be removed at night. The art of Egypt indicates that its rituals were solemn, occasions devoid of emotional expression. Temple inscriptions and hieroglyphic texts frequently illustrate rigid, formal gestures characteristic of Egyptian art. Nevertheless, much of what is inscribed in temples and on tombs represents frozen gestures, captured during moments of profound ritual intensity, contrasting with their seemingly restrained appearance. The liturgies most effectively convey the Egyptian sentiments towards their deities and the sacred functions of the temple, revealing authentic fervor in this context. In hearing the pleas for deliverance from the myriad mortal afflictions that afflict humanity, we perceive the yearning for acceptance and belonging within the celestial domains. Numerous traditional hieroglyphic symbols express this emotion, while ceremonial gestures illustrate it. Egyptians ascribed sacred gestures to animals and linked them to divine entities through these symbols. For example, at dawn, the baboon emits a shriek and elevates its arms, representing Jehuti's acknowledgement of all celestial events. As baboons seemingly perform at sunrise, the hieroglyph portrays a man with raised arms, serving as a determinative for adoration. Indigenous to the Nile Valley, most animals were embodiments of remarkable divine power. The inner court. Egypt's spiritual and secular laws were thought to originate from the gods, resulting in no distinct separations among government, religion, commerce, or social interactions. Ancient Egypt educated its populace in religious practices as a ritual. In instructional literature from various periods, including the New Kingdom, the exemplary disposition of the student is delineated as follows. The deity detests boisterous speech. Therefore, refrain from raising your voice in his presence. Moderate your remarks and engage in silent prayer. If you possess needs, he will fulfill them. If you present offerings, he will receive them. Avoid offending your deity by making an offering. Refrain from imposing expectations regarding his appearance. Avoid interrupting his procession, and do not challenge his methods. He can be entrusted with millions of documents. Those who venerate him receive the benefits. The sun is the deity of this earth. His representations exist on this planet. Incense may be presented to them as sustenance daily. Furthermore, the sovereign of the ascensions will be content. Dynasty, Imi. Instruction of Ani. A heterogeneous group of attendants, clergy, students, and laypersons managed the Egyptian temple and coordinated both daily and periodic Netta festivals. While the core personnel committed to lifelong service, community members were mandated to undergo periodic involuntary rotations, referred to as phyla. Typically, these rotations lasted several months before returning to secular life. While contemporary temples may replicate this structure, the number of participants will likely be significantly reduced for evident reasons. These roles serve as useful frameworks for reconstructing the outcomes of ancient rituals, which aim to fortify the connections between human and divine existence, and to prepare participants' physical dispositions for transformation. The greater the number of participants in a ritual, the more potent the vital energy and the superior the outcomes. An individual can engage with the ritual texts through reading and meditation, yielding advantageous results. Spiritual connection is frequently established rapidly. In contrast, multiple group members may contribute various unfocused thoughts, thereby mitigating that interference. Despite the portrayal by Victorian authors suggesting that only men occupied high offices in the temples of ancient Egypt, substantial evidence indicates that both women and men held esteemed positions and responsibilities within the Netru temple. An Old Kingdom tomb at Giza records that the wife of the high priest of Ptah in Memphis bore a son after beseeching divine favor, while Timotep, a priestess during the reign of Cleopatra VII, wed the high priest at Memphis. Priestess oracles were also conducted in the temples of Neit in the Delta and the houses of Het-Her at Dendera in Upper Egypt throughout the millennium. The Heliopolitan tradition reinstated ancestor priestesses, culminating in establishing the office of divine adoratrix at the Theban temple of Amun during the New Kingdom. During this period, non-royal blood priestesses may have executed temple rituals instead of the pharaoh. The ancient Egyptian records are abundant, and there are accounts of women engaging in divine service and exhibiting notable social equality. References to gender disparities in ancient Egypt were less frequent than they are currently. Both genders possessed equivalent rights and obligations concerning land and business ownership, while acknowledging the distinctions between men and women. Contemporary temples ought to foster this perspective, as the collaboration of priests and priestesses is vital for the efficacy of sacred science. The traditional temple comprises 12 priestly functions, hemu, which delineate the responsibilities of members of a divine house in the making. These roles align with the Neteru, who embody the requisite skills and knowledge to fulfill their duties, serving as patrons of their respective offices. The 12 functions symbolize the energetic qualities of the zodiac. Priestly offices are linked to various divinities, while the rhythms of the zodiac exert certain influential dimensions. In the subsequent descriptions, feminine names precede the title, while plural names, such as Hem, Hemt, and Hemu, follow the name. If the Hemkar serves as a spiritual attendant, Asar serves as the patron. The initial provision extended to a temple seeker is spiritual rejuvenation. Each person possesses the Ka, the etheric body or vital essence, perpetually revitalized within the divine house. Every ceremony commences with the Hemkar, priest of the Ka, greeting all attendees and clarifying the guidelines, teachings, and announcements. In ancient Egypt, the Hemkar functioned as the parish priest or vicar, offering guidance, counsel, and rituals for the living and the deceased. Furthermore, this priest acted as a mediator and advisor, directing petitioners to other experts, including healers and educators. Divine vitality is the essence that sustains all life. It represents the divinity that embodies universal attributes and disseminates them generously. Hemkars are typically the initial figures encountered in a temple environment. They are tasked with fostering memberships and enlisting new members. Asar, the primary terrestrial deity of Heliopolis's Ennead, is linked to this role. In ancient Egypt, Asar served as the custodian of ancestral memory and organic energy, and all who transitioned to the Western land, physical death, united with his Ka. His function in the liturgy entails administering the rite of communion, thereby facilitating the spiritual benefit for the living. The patrons of this role are Hapi, Anher, and Sokar. Hymnody. The Kenerati. Her deity is Het-Her. Both scent and sound are equally potent senses utilized in a ritualistic context. Records from temples and inscriptions on the tombs of distinguished figures reveal that thousands of singers, musicians, and chanters engaged in morning and evening rituals throughout the sanctuary. Temple musicians were commissioned for various special occasions, including public processions and pharaonic investitures. Chanters may be disinclined to sing or chant during the liturgy, opting instead to intone the words until they are familiar with the material. We invoke and honor the Netta during the recitation of the opening hymn. Thus, one should meticulously scrutinize the deity's names, attributes, and associations. Hymnody is tasked with maintaining and utilizing all temple instruments and invoking divine states through sound. She also oversees the selection and cueing of music for specific rites in the contemporary temple, with clapping, drumming, and sistrums serving as accompaniment. The hymnodes fulfill a ceremonial role. The invocation of divine imagery relies on the environment and is the foundation for effective rituals. Hathor, the hymnodes, oversees music and dance. The Dendera triad represents the feminine aspect, uniting spiritual and physical principles through emotion. Bat, Wajet, Bez, and Meret Sega act as the guardians of this role. Jehuti, the guardian of the tome. In ancient Egypt, the proficiency of scribes was regarded as the paramount avenue to achieve social status. As a netter embodying divine resonance and sacred writing, Jehuti imparted the art of writing to humanity, facilitating access to temples, governance, and prestigious vocations. Record-keeping, transcription, and archiving tasks within the divine house necessitated scribal expertise and familiarity with the ritual formulas and ceremonies integral to temple practices. Consequently, he served as both an educator and a ceremonialist. In ancient times, temple ritual books were regarded as sacred relics carried by the reader priest during both processions and ceremonies. Participants received the script for the ritual, with the reader guiding them through the recitation. Priests of this class required a comprehensive understanding of sacred names, including their pronunciation and meanings. Jehuti is linked to the Ker-Heb as the originator of the divine word. Recognized as a deity of the upper realm, Hermopolis is the initial creator of physical matter. The Ker-Heb fulfills the role of sacred resonance in this ritual by reciting the divine litany of the Neta, which animates all entities. Extensive practice is imperative to cultivate a melodious, rhythmic voice for the litany until it becomes instinctive. If participants wish, the Ker-Heb may independently hold the sacred text during the ceremony and distribute it to those requiring it for recitations. This arrangement will enable collective focus on the metaphysical dimensions of the work, while allowing the Ker-Heb to concentrate on the procedural aspects of the rites. The Ker-Heb may temporarily halt during public ceremonies to elucidate the significance of particular actions to the audience or to direct participants through the subsequent step in the ritual. A Ker-Heb is anticipated to uphold and preserve a record book for the temple, documenting pertinent details of all rituals and social events. The significance of this record must not be overlooked. It acts as a testament to the spiritual advancements achieved since the temple's inception, while highlighting unresolved matters or inquiries that require attention. Shu and Khons oversee these responsibilities. The embodiment of the divine, Neta, Nebsht Het, benefactor. In antiquity, Neta was either a senior temple official or a custodian of its traditions. The priest is the principal ceremonialist and must possess comprehensive knowledge of the rites. Besides distinguishment, the term also denoted incarnation, or presence, referencing the divine essence that the servant spiritually embodies. The meter is tasked with sustaining the sanctuary's fire and supplying the incense, herbs, and resins essential for preserving the divine house's harmonious ambience. Ancient Egyptians believed that fragrance lured divinity to the temple. Its regular provision aided in achieving this objective. Hymnators are also accountable for maintaining the illumination, preparing the sanctuary before a ceremony, and cleaning the covering afterward. All ceremonies must commence with rites of purification. In theurgy, the focus is on religious evocation. The divine enunciator, or ritualist, executes this task as part of the temple ceremony. The ancient Egyptians adhered to specific ritual protocols, including hand-washing and painting sacred images on their tongues. These practices stemmed from the belief that words of invocation must originate from a mouth that is ritually pure and devoted to manifesting divine life, at least for the duration of the ceremony. Hem-Neta invokes the deity during ceremonial services and periodically instructs and trains others. Nebet-Het, the goddess who aided Auset in delivering Heru, and was subsequently recognized as the divine midwife and nurse, assumes this priestly role. Alongside Tayet and Renutet, other patrons included Nebet-Hetepet from Heliopolis, Oracle of the Ma. Ma, or seer, oversees the spiritual protocol of the temple ritual. This term also denotes the faculty of sight, and ceremonial magic suggests an extraordinary capacity for perception and spiritual awareness among its participants. Clairvoyance stems from profound metaphysical training, with contact with spiritual forces augmenting this ability. Upon the deity's invocation, the Ma's responsibilities are activated. Her commitment to the temple encompasses guiding the divine presence to sustain itself within the sanctuary, and to confer the requested benefits. Novice participants may also gain from prolonged interaction with the deity, for which the Ma may act as an intermediary. Communication with the Creator occurs reciprocally once it manifests. Throughout the ceremony, the divine realms symbolize the temple. Heru, revered as a sacred falcon, serves as the patron deity of the Ma. Renowned for his exceptional vision and swiftness, he is a central figure in the Osirian myth, where Set mutilated Heru by removing his eye, which was restored by Jehuti, endowing him with formidable power. Mythological locations linked to Heru's representations include Heliopolis, Memphis, and Dendera. Alongside Ra, Mont, and Min, other deities such as Dunawi, the initiating god, Imset, Daumutef, Kebsenuf, and Hapi are also recognized as patrons. Geb. Each temple in Egypt designated a cadre of provisioners to organize daily sustenance for the deities. Temple staff disseminated the provisions during a ritual termed the reversion of offerings, after the sanctuary presented food and drink. We prepare and present sustenance and offerings at temple ceremonies, encompassing garments, adornments, and beauty products. Upon entering the mortal realm, the Netta was furnished with every item a distinguished guest might require through a daily welcoming ritual in the sanctuary, which was thought to supply all necessities for daily life. Alongside cleanliness, the quality of offerings was paramount. The divine house regarded inferior goods as unworthy gifts, but would employ rational redistribution if the intent was beneficial. To obtain the Neta's blessing, the Satem collects all goods intended for presentation to the Neta before the ceremony. This includes items designated exclusively for placement on the altar during rituals. A laboratory may assist in inspecting, cleaning, or ceremonially purifying the offerings. The Satem presents these offerings to the congregation during the ceremony and distributes them to the community. Geb, known to the ancients as Urpa, Great Provider, served as the patron of the Setum. He was viewed as the progenitor of Earth's life forms, as the father of Heliopolis's terrestrial deities. In addition to Hotep and the Creator, Neet also recognizes Ptah as a patron. The sorcerer Hekau. The sacred names and words of power of the Neteru were regarded as esoteric knowledge within the divine house. Vocal resonance was accessible solely to highly trained and devoted members of the temple, as it was thought to summon life from the dawn of time. Verbal articulation in a ritual context is an art, enabling the projection of vitality through the divine word. During the temple ceremony, the Ur-Hekau, Great of Magic, conducts the rite of meditation, employing both dijed, speech, and communication skills. It is crucial for the Hekau to deftly direct participants' focus towards the divine presence and engage with the divinity. Following a successful invocation, the subsequent meditation will disclose the outcomes. This task is essential for monitoring the participants and the temple ambience. The temple magician must uphold a tranquil and receptive mindset, despite unusual events. She bears the responsibility of guiding the spiritual focus of the congregation. Auset, the supreme deity in the Heliopolitan Ennead, has been venerated for centuries as the most formidable goddess in ancient Egypt, and justifiably so. Auset perceives all supplications and responds to all questions. Thus, her priests must remain vigilant regarding all happenings within the divine house. Additional patrons of the Ur-Hekau include Selkit, Meskenet, and Sopdet. Observer, the Sow. In antiquity, sentinels continuously monitored the temple's hallowed grounds day and night. The police were occasionally summoned, but Sow's spiritual function was to serve as gatekeepers of the sacred space, permitting entry solely to committed clergy. This priest assesses the spiritual atmosphere during ceremonies and may subsequently elucidate it for the participants. The Sow persistently intoned protective incantations during recitation in the ancient temple, safeguarding the sanctuary's tranquility. Contemporary temples utilize a doorkeeper to mitigate disruptions from external sources, including telephone calls or pets. The Sow is anticipated to position herself against disruptive entities during a ceremony and summon their expulsion. At the temple's closing ceremony, the Sow instills the surroundings with the cosmic order invoked by the tradition. Anpu, her patron deity, safeguards sacred sites and esoteric knowledge. Apuat's deities encompass Heka, Khepri, and Apuat, known as the Opener of the Ways. Physician. The Senuti. In ancient Egypt, the Senu served as physicists and priests, functioning as physical and spiritual healers. Sekhmet Bast sanctified these surgeons and entrusted them with the goddess's flint knife. Alongside exorcists, Sekhmet Bast priests confronted malevolent entities capable of endangering substantial collectives, including armies and expeditions. The Senu conducts rites of specific importance in the contemporary temple via the customary liturgy. The primary objective of these rituals is to heal and benefit the temple participants. The exploration of occult healing is advocated in fulfilling this priestly function, as the paramount element of temple work is the constructive application of the spiritual energy derived from the ceremony. The examination of the healing practices of ancient Egypt may encompass alternative fields such as herbalism, magnetic therapy, hypnosis, nutritional therapy, and homeopathy. Senu's patron is Sekhmet Bast, the deity of medicine and surgery. Alongside Imhotep, Amunhotep, son of Hapu, Paket, and Bastet, served as a patron. Supervisor of the Merai, Tatiti. Each divine house requires a ways and means individual to oversee fundamental responsibilities, including providing sacred space, catering to participants and visitors, and securing funding for special initiatives. In ancient times, the Mer facilitated the sale or exchange of temple goods for provisions required by temple staff. This priest oversees the physical planning and implementation of sacred activities in the contemporary temple. Mer is not obligated to execute all necessary tasks to guarantee the seamless progression of ceremonial events. She should identify individuals with the requisite talent to fulfill specific criteria and guide them accordingly. Mir may identify the supplier, negotiate payment or barter, and coordinate the prompt delivery of floral arrangements for specific ceremonies. They oversee Tempe's finances, while Set, tasked with sustaining worldly existence, directs Mer's operations. Set, the entity responsible for perpetuating earthly existence, directs Mer's operations. Although malevolent in the Osirian mythos, Egypt's history revered this deity, with certain temple traditions regarding it as a principal divinity. His name was attributed to numerous esteemed and revered royal figures, including Seti Thastos, the progenitor of Ramesses II, and the renovator of the Temple of Osirion at Abydos. Tart, Sobek, and Apep also endorse the role. Oracle of Sentit. The Sentit, experts in divination sciences that provide foresight and insight into the sacred, conducts this endeavor. In ancient cultures, understanding sacred periods was essential for identifying the manifestations of deities, celebrating their festivals, and addressing both positive and negative forces aligned with the rhythms of nature. The Sentit is tasked with providing the temple a schedule of forthcoming events, specifying the timings of solar, lunar, and astronomical cycles. Besides scrying, she should be proficient in interpreting sacred symbols, such as the tarot. Dice and runes were deemed unsuitable in ancient Egypt, as casting lots was considered inappropriate within a temple context. Nonetheless, geomancy has maintained the ancient divination practice of utilizing senet casting sticks. In Egypt, dream interpretation served as the predominant method of divination, necessitating a profound comprehension of symbolism and psychology alongside a highly refined intuitive ability. Sentits conduct the rite of pronunciation during the temple ceremony, imparting the words of the invoked deity to the congregation. In the cosmic realm, Ma'at is the consort of Jehuti, the patron of priests. Ma'at represents the vessel or matrix, whereas he signifies the sound or vibration. Consequently, individuals perceived her as the mistress of truth, comprehending the appropriate hierarchy of existence. Seshat and the 42 Ma'ati goddesses also endorse these roles. Asperger's syndrome UABT. Water, referred to as Uab, signifies the pure one. This priest conducted ritual purifications and ceremonial cleansings before presenting offerings at the temple and tomb. All water for these rites was thought to originate from Nun, the primordial abyss. As the deities cyclically reverted to their aqueous origin and were reborn, water could renew and rejuvenate. Moreover, using natron, a naturally occurring desert salt, alongside incense materials, which serve as natural disinfectants, was equally significant. Without a dedicated well, consecrated water is typically sourced from a natural body, such as a lake or river, filtered and preserved in protective vessels. Her subsequent action is to apply consecrated water to offerings, amulets, and any utilized areas. Despite its lack of ritual consecration, she guarantees that the area is purified. Before the ceremony, the UAB may also facilitate ablutions for other temple members or guests. Anointing and purification encompass water, consecrated oils, and requisite implements. In addition to her understanding of purification rites, she must be proficient in conducting bodily cleansings for initiations and therapeutic purposes. Nut, the nator of celestial existence, serves as the patron of the Uab. Additionally, there are Nun, Nefertum, Shesmu, and Tefimt, master of the temple. Egypt was ruled by a monarchy, with the royal figure as a metaphor for the conscious individual, perceived as a descendant of the gods. In an ancient era when deities inhabited Earth and established Egypt, the Egyptian system predominantly depended on familial lineages, as the Egyptians believed that divine blood coursed through royal families. Moreover, although certain individuals were acknowledged as sacred progeny, the system was not infallible, as historical evidence has shown. Historically, the elevation of the royal figure symbolized society's cultural aspirations, the stability it sought for the future, and the continuity of its past. Throughout significant historical epochs, various non-royal individuals, both female and male, established novel cultural imperatives and spiritual aims that supplanted previous ones. The temples that sustained this tradition provided support for them. If these records are precise, the deities also acquiesced to their practices. An example is Hatshepsut's reign, which has generated considerable speculation and intrigue in contemporary times. She diverged from tradition and assumed the position of monarch and the role of king rather than queen, as a legitimate descendant of Thutmose. She was envisioned as the divine progeny of the Neta, fated to govern Egypt from her magnificent sepulchre, the temple of Deir el-Bahri on the western bank of Thebes, Djeser Djeseru, where inscriptions indicate that Amun personally visited her mother. The Hathor Temple signifies the birth chamber of Amenhotep III, where his vision occurred between Amun and his mother, Mutemewiya. Contemporary societies have rendered it unfeasible for an individual to embody the collective spiritual pursuits of the community. The democratic era permits individuals to access the sacred realm and invoke ancestral spirits previously reserved for divine descendants to assert their authority. The celestial creation encompasses us all, integrating us into a realm of deities. An instance of such endeavors is a teacher or interpreter of a spiritual tradition. Spiritual kingship is achievable in the present and constitutes a significant objective. As contemporary individuals, we have acquired these opportunities and responsibilities through the evolution of conscience shaped by history and the pursuit of the common good ingrained in our daily awareness. We should not dissuade practitioners who cannot collaborate with a complete team of temple personnel, provided that all individuals comprehend the responsibilities associated with each role and the order of execution. 2 or 3 individuals can undertake the functions and scripts of the conventional 12 ritualists. During rituals, the Sao, watcher, is tasked with preventing external interference, while the Ur-Hekau, magician, ensures that all participants sustain spiritual concentration. Sao and Ur-Hekau necessitate meticulous scrutiny and focus, allowing a single individual to execute both responsibilities. Periodic rotation of these roles is essential by ancient tradition for various reasons. Engaging in the duties of each priestly role throughout the Philae period, an Egyptian season, entails 4 years of temple service, akin to ancient training in the divine house and contemporary undergraduate education. It signifies genuine achievement for each member to exhibit proficiency in the complete range of ceremonial duties. And collaboration mitigates the risk of authority being monopolized by one or a few individuals, a scenario that could be detrimental to all. Clerics of various orders were also in attendance. In certain instances, these cultures emerged from the ephemeral demands of a specific historical epoch, whereas in others, they are distinguished by particular skills or competencies necessary for specific rituals. The Yun Mutef, pillar of his mother, is exclusively present during the opening of the mouth ceremony, which is associated with the transformative ritual of the temple. By the temple ritual, the role was performed by a close relative of Heru and a senior clergy member during the funerary proceedings. Jehuti's role parallels that of a sponsor in Masonic ceremonies, serving as the patron of temple initiates, the Sameref. Jehuti's role is analogous to that of a sponsor in Masonic ceremonies. This role signifies his beloved son, while also denoting kinsman and close friend. In ancient Egypt, the priest possessed no moral authority over the community. The ancient temple records prescribed a tradition the priests had to follow to fulfill their essential role. Only their edicts or decrees held validity during the reigning monarch's lifetime. The priestly roles delineated herein should not be regarded as distinct functions that segregate one clergy class from another. The responsibilities of a temple officer encompass duties that must be executed collaboratively with the temple community, alongside a dedication to ongoing study and practice. Priestly titles confer upon practitioners an integrity that transcends any occupation or obligation in the secular realm. The spiritual dedication of the priesthood can enhance the lives of all who enter the divine house by preserving the temple. Attire for temple. The design of ancient Egyptian temple attire remained consistent with that of the Old Kingdom. Temple garments were crafted from superior linen, described as gauze-like in inscriptions, while textiles derived from animal sources, particularly wool, were prohibited. The bleaching procedure rendered all materials white. Although not formally introduced, hemp and cotton are excellent alternatives to linen. In antiquity, papyrus sandals constituted the sole form of footwear, while processions donned white cloth sandals. Currently, import shops commonly stock both varieties. The sanctuary area, however, features bare feet. The priesthood of Egypt is renowned for its tonsured heads. The climate primarily influenced this custom, while the commitment of a pure body to the netter's house emphasized the theme of relinquishing all worldly adornments, with hair being the most significant in antiquity. In light of current substantial concerns regarding fire and smoke, securing the hair away from the face is essential. All eras utilized the side lock of youth, mirroring Haru's adolescence. The left side of the head displayed braided and collected hair. Women are frequently portrayed in temple scenes, adorned with wigs, braids, or hair secured away from their faces by simple cloth headbands tied at the back. Clerics donned shawls or sashes over their shoulders, while belts frequently secured their waistbands to their robes. Certain inscriptions illustrate priests adorned with capes over their heads. Specific colors are associated with sacerdotal duties. It represents the hue of vitality and creative force. In conjunction with yellow, the solar function, it signifies the formidable resurgence of Sekhmet Bast. Yellow and red are suitable colors for the Senu and the Mer. The temple milieu infrequently employed red owing to its connection with the destructive aspects of Set and the physical realm. The color blue and its shades, turquoise, indigo, symbolize the celestial realm and the primordial deluge. The Hem Nater and the UAB can utilize these colors in the sensing and purifying functions of the divine house. Violet amalgamates the celestial energies, blue, with the essential life force, red, domains of the scented. The green and brown hues of nature align with the roles of Hemkar and Setum in nourishment and provision. In the Kena chants, yellow represents solar energies and the dawn. White represents the inception of the sacred and the purity of devotion to the deities, embodied by the ibis god Jehuti and his priest Kerheb. Ur-Hekau, who engages directly with the deities, possesses the divine hue of gold. Kern, a term for Egypt's fertile black soil, conjures images of the night and the forces residing in darkness. Consequently, individuals ascribe this designation to Anpu and his priestly order, the Sao. The black-on-gold spotted pattern is regarded as a hallmark of the Ma. The corrosive properties of silver inhibit its application in ritualistic settings. Besides the leopard skin draped over the shoulders and the sidelock designated for specialized priests, the Yunmutef symbolizes Heru as the officiant at his father's resurrection. In contemporary society, this category of apparel is superfluous, and synthetic materials are permissible, particularly as certain manufacturers' animal prints closely resemble those found in nature. The astronomer prophet, the high priest of Memphis, wears a collar and braided hair that mimic his patron deity, Ptah, in reference to his role as Ur-Ma, the greatest of seers. The high priest of Heliopolis wears panther skin adorned with golden stars.